Hello guys. How you doing today? Um, I don't know if you guys can hear me, but thank you for joining. Um, thank you for joining. Let's just wait for some people to join. It's pretty late, but I guess it will be for life again. How you doing, Miss Watson? How you doing? Thanks for joining. How you doing today? Thanks for joining. Thanks for joining. Thanks for joining. If you just joined, comment below. Let me know where you're watching from, and just announce your presence. Just let us feel your presence on here. Just give yourself a shout out. Greetings, Jamal. How you doing today? Um, Darlene Mohammed. How you doing? Scott from Los Angeles. How you doing? I'm more Texas here late in Florida. Yes, I know it's really late, probably late. But thanks again for joining. Thanks again for joining. Today, I just want us to have a brief conversation, and I just have to let few people join, and we can just touch this up because for the next few days I'll be off. So I just want us to touch on it. I just want us to touch on it. So as you can see, the topic today is there's a lot of. Oh, thanks so much. Thanks so much. Thanks so much, brother. There's a lot of resentment. This should be interesting. And I also put a link so you can call in today as well. But there's a lot of resentment between, Africans on the continent and African diaspora. And I think it is really good for us to really have conversations about these and how do we forgive each other, or how do we approach and finding peace among us, because it seems like when I talk to a lot of people from the diaspora, despite a lot of people having the love for the African continent, people still have some type of resentment. Some people say, well, African people sold us out. People still have that kind of pain and resentment, and Africans on the continent also say, well, African diaspora, look down upon us. They use words, they call us Africa booty scratcher and all this stuff. There's so many type of resentment within us that despite we trying to come together, we still haven't bypassed those resentments. So I mean, there's a lot of them. These are few things. Thanks for joining. Thanks for joining. These are part of the few things that I have really recognized among us, and I know there's a lot of resentment between us. That's why we're trying to come together. So how do we come together? How do we come on one accord to solve this resentment? How do we bypass? How do we forgive each other? It's we need to really talk. We do need to talk this about between us. We need to really talk and find a solution on how we can bypass, you know, this type of resentment among us. Um, Thank you so much for joining. Thank you so much for joining. So, there's a lot of resentment between us. There's a lot of inner pain, that we have against each other. And I think we need to talk about these. How do we address this? How do we forgive each other? And how do we bypass this? I want us to call in and share our information, share some of the things, some of the resentment that we have, and how do you think we can bypass this and move forward? Firstly, no one is leaving solid anyone, so it's simple. Africans don't respect the akatas, and that tribalism still runs deep, and we know the main tactics of systematic racism, white supremacy is divide and conquer. So it makes me sad and frustrated, like really. Yes, there's a lot of resentment. Like I said, we love each other. We have it there for each other. It's within us. but there's some, there's something within us that we still trying not to forgive. We are holding grudges, and I think it's time that we are fighting to come together. We need to talk about these things. We need to really address them and have a way of saying, you know what, I'll bypass this. I'll forgive, my African brothers and sisters for this, and I'll let this go. I will not feel the pain anymore. I'll let it go, and I'll just look forward, never looking back again. I'll just let it go. So call it, and thanks for joining, brother Jamal. How you doing today?
Greetings, brother. One of the things that I'd like to bring to everybody's mind is that we're
Okay.
not enemies. Our blood runs 10,000 generations plus, and no one living today sold
Hmm.
anyone. No one. So I'm, for one, am excited about the possibility of bringing my children back to my point of origin and their point of origin and reuniting with our people. Um, we have to get past petty disputes over nothing.
Okay. Okay.
We both have something to bring to the table that can make Africa and all of the different countries of Africa strong. We have access to resources they may not be in Africa. They have access to resources and situations that are not readily available to us. And that's what we need to be thinking about and focused on.
Okay.
It's an immature mind that says, well, my great 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 grandfather did this to your great 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 grandfather, and so I'm mad at you. I don't know your great 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 grandfather,
Father.
but I do know that we're blood. That I do know. And
Okay.
it is time for us to come together.
So
That's
you
what I
saying
have to say.
So you're saying we should bypass the fact that, yes, I can really hold my forefathers accountable for playing part in, the slave trade, right? And despite a lot of people saying, you know what, I want to move back to the African continent. Whenever there's a debate or there's a disagreement, that pain comes out. You see what I'm saying? They say, well,
I,
you know,
I, I
Africans
understand
sold
that.
us out. Hmm.
I understand that. But at the same time, you've done nothing to offend me. You've
Hmm.
extended your hand out in brothership, friendship, and love. I'm going to embrace that.
Okay.
You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's, again, I go back to, I'm not going to hold you accountable for something that happened 300 years ago. You did not even exist.
I had
You get
no
what?
idea about what yet happened. Yeah.
No, you don't. And wars happened, whatever happened. We have to deal with the present situation. I
Hmm.
understand about pain. All of us have had to deal with different types of pain. But when you talk about something as big as reuniting a people, we acknowledge what happened 300, 400 years ago, but what are we going to do about it today
Right.
to
Okay.
restore everybody back to the point of origin if that's what they want?
Right.
I've never believed in playing the blame game. If I do something,
Okay.
I accept responsibility and accountability for it, no matter what it is. If you didn't do it, I'm not going to hold you accountable for it.
Hmm.
That's just an immature mind to me. So I don't bear any ill will towards any brother that I meet on the African continent. You didn't do
Okay.
anything to me. If you do something to me, then that's a different conversation. But just to say, okay, your ancestors did this, you didn't, brother. And as long
Okay.
as we're on a good peaceful accord, then we're going to be okay.
Okay.
Because the alternative to that is what's going on here right now
Hmm.
in the United States. I don't know where you're at, but here in the United States, that old bad blood is resurfacing because it never went away.
Okay.
And I live in a very small city. So we're isolated from a lot of the things that are going on, but you still see bits of it from people coming through town. And then again, I say, okay, I see where you're coming from, but I don't have to deal with you.
Mm-hmm.
You have a platform where you're able to hear from both sides.
Yep.
So the responsible thing is to ask the person when they're saying, oh, I feel this kind of way. Why do you feel that kind of way? What are you going to do about it? Because this person didn't do anything to you.
Because one thing I realized is uh, uh, most people on the African continent, because trust me, I grew up over there and
Mm-hmm.
watching television, growing up as a child. What the white media always show is if you see a black person from the US, it's either they're into gun violence, they're doing this, they're doing that. And it was never a positive image that was being showed. So therefore, at the back of their mind, most people, if you don't pass through your own education, if you don't do your own research, if you don't, educate yourself, then you perceive most African diaspora, or most, just African diaspora in general, and say, well, this is how they are. You perceive them based on the image. And then when, I don't know how to put it for you to get, we have this thing at the back of our
You
mind.
have a one-sided betrayal of African Americans, which
Right.
is jaded because I'm an architect. I farm. Um, I have a lot of different skill sets,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm not a criminal. I've never been to prison, and all of my friends and associates are the same as I am.
Mm-hmm.
Just like I don't believe every African man is uneducated, walking around in a loincloth out in the bush.
Right.
That's ridiculous. Some of
Right.
my most educated friends that I've met here from Ghana, Gambia, Rwanda, Nigeria are
Nigeria.
all educated men, very smart, that were brought to the United States because they were so superior in their fields. That I know for a fact.
Mm-hmm.
So we have to stop allowing us to dictate who we are to each other and start having open dialogue with each other like we're doing right now.
Right now. Yeah. And that's even a small group of us being on here. But trust me, this discussion needs to really go bigger, because there's a lot of, you know, when it comes to this type of mindset, people thinking, oh, I know somebody who asked me, do you guys have televisions? You know what I'm
That's
saying?
ridiculous. That's ridiculous.
Yeah, do you guys go for hunting? Because that's what they probably have seen their whole life, and they're not really intrigued to go research, find information for themselves or educate
Number one,
themselves. So,
the
hmm
number one city outside of Asia in the world in terms of
hmm
safety and cleanliness is Kigali. That's in
hmm
Rwanda. That's the center of Africa.
hmm so
We,
I
we, we,
feel
we need to stop letting people have that type of power to typecast us either way.
hmm and one thing I realized is, I think, there's a division between, especially when it comes to those who believe, the African diaspora, who believe they are from, their forefathers originated from the African continent. Some also say, hey, we're not Africans, we are, Hebrew Israelite. And others believe we are indigenous. And when it comes to that aspect, I realize one of the biggest differences out there is misinformation. Because guess what? When you pay attention to the reason why they are running from their actual origin, which is Africa, is because of either one, the shame they seen on the media, or two, some of the bad pictures and other stuff. So they feel like I don't want to associate myself with this. And I'm talking from an example simply because I met one guy who is a Hebrew Israelite, and he hated to hear the concept of we from Africa so much. And when we were having conversation, he said, bro, we're not from Africa. Our forefathers never came from there. And, we cannot come from a place where they just be going for hunting. They be eating rats. They be doing this. They live on trees. And I said, let me show you my house. You see what I'm saying? So I so I showed him where I was living, and he was like, "Hold on, where you from in Africa?" I said, "I'm from Ghana." He said, "Okay, you sure this is Ghana?" I'm like, "Yeah, this is a
Absolutely.
community in Ghana." But I realized he was so much misinformed.
He was ignorant.
You see what I'm saying? So we need to really have these talks, because that's the only way we can bypass this, differences.
If
Yeah.
Africa was so backwards, why does all of Europe want to own it?
Right. We have a lot of people
Why
down
does
there.
China want
Hmm.
to own and colonize Africa? Not just one little city, the entire
Hmm.
continent thereafter. And they've been fighting over it for generations
Hmm.
because that's point of origin.
Hmm. But let me add this, sister, to it. I really appreciate your time being here. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
I appreciate you, and I sent you a email.
Okay.
I'm
Well,
serious about coming to Ghana and looking around.
okay. Just shoot me. Let me put my email there. Just shoot me, and I'll just give you any help I can. All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Hey, Ima, how you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. You look so Ghanaian.
I'm Sierra Leonean, American.
Oh, okay.
hmm
Okay.
I'm
Okay.
first
You,
generation. Yeah, but like how you just like asked me like, oh, you look so Ghanaian. Like I got that all my life. Like you look so African, but it was always a slur from or Black Americans. Um,
okay.
and I don't know, like the whole like divide between us is just so like disappointing. It's frustrating. Because I was born and raised in America. My mom immigrated to America in '94 and had me in '95. And so the
Mm-hmm.
experience, like the rift, like I don't know the rift. I didn't know the divide. Like all I know is that I'm 5 years old. I'm on the playground and I want to play with the black kids. And they're like, "Oh, you look African. You're an African booty scratcher." Ah, wah, 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 wah. And I'm just like, damn, like, you know what I'm saying? So like, you see, like coming up, like as a first generation African, like you see yourself as black. I never disidentified or like was ashamed to be African. I was always like the weird kid in class, like, yeah, I'm African. My mom's from Sierra Leone. And again,
Mm-hmm.
like all the kids would click their tongues and they would clown me, but I didn't care. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm proud to be who I am. But I just never understood like why like black people
So,
are so xenophobic, you know?
yeah,
Mm.
but did that really build some type of resentment? Growing up, did you feel like you know there was some type of division between we continental Africans and African diaspora because of what growing up you experienced? Did you feel like you know uh, there's some type of resentment because of what you just experienced?
Yeah, I felt the resentment since I was a child. Um, but I never hated anybody. I could feel that the resentment came from like a lack of education and just like seeing stuff on TV that just was completely untrue. Um, like little children swatting away flies and like building mud houses and stuff like that. Me personally, I don't resent African Americans. I get frustrated sometimes because I'm like, damn, like because I see us as one and the same. Like y'all come from Africa too. You're just further removed from your African ancestry, but you're still African. But I don't push like Africanity on them because again, they don't have any connection because of slavery, and they just you've been in America your whole entire life. But I'm studying to be a historian, so I always want to like teach them like, yo, like you need to know like where you came from historically because you didn't originate in America. That's why you want to be Asian. That's why you want to be Native American. That's why you want to be Indian so bad. And you're
Right.
not. You're not.
Yeah.
And they say,
Yeah.
oh, I'm mixed. Like, what? You got like 2% like Vietnamese in your blood? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, so I don't know.
Yeah, because even what I realize is those who really identify themselves and say, "Hey, I'm not African, I'm Israelite." But then when you ask them where are they from, they go back to, they say, "Well, the Middle East," and I said, "Well, the Middle East is part of Africa before it was basically demarcated anyway." And those who say, "Well, we're not from Africa, we're from Asian Kemet," but then Asian Kemet is still part of Africa.
Mm-hmm.
It still goes back to the same destination. They just don't want to accept those differences out there. And I feel it's just because of, to me, misinformation and education, because of how the media has portrayed Africa. You see what I'm saying? People feel like, that's why when I do my travels, because I have a travel company, I
Mm-hmm.
tell people we go into villages that where
Yeah.
you want to run from, where you so feel like you don't want to get connected to. We need to go there. You see what I'm
Mm-hmm.
saying? Because I make people feel comfortable and say, hey, well, every society have their, bad, the bad side. We need to appreciate all and love
Mm-hmm.
it. This is our place. This is our home. Whether
Mm-hmm.
it's good or bad, we have to appreciate the differences and build it up.
Mm-hmm.
But
I
thank you
agree.
so much. Thank
Thank
you
you.
so much.
I love your
All
channel,
right.
and I hope it grows.
All right. You too. Thank you so much.
All right, have a good one. Bye.
You too. Bye. Uh, hello.
Hi.
How you doing? Thanks for joining again.
Well, thank you for having me on.
Yes, you were here yesterday. You made it today too.
Yes, very late conversation, but I didn't have anywhere to go. And I'm on here again on a Saturday night because I don't have anywhere to go. So you're the
Right.
best show in town.
Thank you so much. Thank you so.
You're welcome.
Thank you
You're
so much.
welcome.
So, yeah. So, what are some of the resentment that you feel we have among ourselves that you think we should really let it go and bypass it and just move forward?
Well, it's interesting that you stated it that way because I guess I would word it a little different. I wouldn't necessarily say that we just need to let it go and get
Okay.
past it, because we're looking at 400 years of oppression. Right.
Okay.
Actually, more than that, more than 400 years of oppression. And so that's not something that a people, any group of people would just be able to get over it and let it go. Right. And so we
Okay.
have to kind of take it for what it is. So unfortunately, when a group of people have been brutalized in that manner for such a long period of time, that's four different centennials. Like that's 4 centuries. That's a very long time, very long
Hmm.
time. And so you have to, my opinion is that you have to kind of look at the psychology of it, and you have
Okay.
to, one of the things that I think will help us is when we first recognize that hurting people hurt other people. And so if you're listening to someone's perspective, and their perspective is coming from a place that is hurt down on the inside, then one of the first things that they may do is lash out at the closest person towards them. And so they're
Hmm.
not going to go across the street and beat up those people. They're going to first lash out to the people that are right there by them, or the people that look just like them, or the people that are suffering just like they're suffering. right? And so in order to really address some of the issues, we have to really pay attention to where is this stemming from? Where is this coming from? And then we can address it. So some of the things that I wanted to mention include that children, children are children are dumb. I love kids, don't get me wrong, but what I'm saying is children are dumb, right? Until we educate them. And so
Right.
we have to educate them in understanding their history and having pride in themselves. But if our parents were never taught that, and their parent was never taught that, and their parents were never taught that, then where is it coming from? Who educates the children? Right.
Right.
So, unfortunately, yes, it's very unfortunate that kids on the playground say horrible things. But guess what? It's not just towards our African brothers and sisters. It's also towards people that look just like you. So when I was a kid on the playground, I was told that I was a creature from the Black Lagoon, and I was the Black Stallion, and what was some of the other things, something from outer space, and all of these things, right? Because of my darker skin complexion. And
Right.
so, again, we have to put those things into its right reference. And we have to say, okay, this is coming from the mindset of a child who is being negatively influenced by the things that we see in the media, on the TV, that tells us about ourselves, that tells us that we're ugly and we should hate ourselves. And that
Okay.
the lighter complected we are, then the better we are, or the more beautiful we are, or the less tightly curled our hair is, the better hair we have. So all of those things are a part of what makes us who we are, what we think about ourselves, and therefore, unfortunately, what we may portray onto other people.
Okay, so you saying, basically we cannot still let it go easily because this is something that has been instilled within, the African diaspora for 400 years. So psychologically, it will be really hard. But the only way we can, maybe bring it down is through education. We have to educate our children. That's your whole point.
Yes, our children and ourselves. Unfortunately, as African Americans, we don't know a lot of our history, even amongst ourselves. Unfortunately, and it may have been a caller yesterday, but someone acknowledged, and I do apologize. It might have been someone else's channel that I watched earlier today, but she was on your show yesterday, so it's no love lost. But sometimes there are people who don't, even African Americans here in the US, who don't care to hear about it. They're like, oh, it's too hurtful to think about, let's not talk about it, it's the past, let's just leave it alone, while they're still suffering from effects of it, and they're still lashing out and not realizing it, but they're saying let's just leave it alone, right? And
Um,
so there are adults that are not addressing these issues, and because the adults are not addressing the issues, then they can't teach the children properly. So yes, I agree that it is definitely rooted in education of ourselves, education of where we came from. The only reason why I feel like I have the level of knowledge about Africa, the African continent, that I do, is because I chose to take African and African American studies as a major in my undergraduate studies in college.
all
And
right, all right.
and so that's the only reason. And the things that I'm learning now through YouTube have nothing on, that is tons more than what I ever learned in a classroom in college.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. So education, we need to keep educating ourselves. Thank you so much. I really appreciate that input.
No problem. Thanks for your time. Have a good night.
You too, and stay blessed.
All right, you too.
Bye bye. Hi, how you doing?
How you doing, brother?
I'm good. How you doing? Thanks for being patient, and I really appreciate you being on here. So I hope you already understand what we have on here today. What do you have to say? What are some of the resentment that you think, you know, it has built within you that you think, do we have to let it go? Do we have to talk about it? And how do we even forgive each other?
Um, I was a little bit confused, just
Okay.
hearing from the sister and what she was saying.
Which
My
sister?
question, the sister just got done talking to you, and
Oh, okay. Hmm.
yeah, I guess I'm trying to understand. I'm trying to understand the resentment. What is the resentment like against the Europeans or and Europeans Americans, or like within ourselves as African people throughout the world?
Yes, I'm talking about the resentment within ourselves as African people around the world, because this is about our unity and how we can, possibly come together. So I believe personally, if we can come together, then we need to have conversations like this to be able to forgive one another. That's the only way, because trust me, despite a lot of us are trying to come together, we still have our individual resentment, and we can only spot these when we have debate and disagreement. And the moment we have disagreement, you realize one person saying, well, you guys sold us, Africans sold us. And then, it's some type of petty resentment within us, both from Africans on the continent, from the diaspora. And I'm saying, how do we really bypass this? And what are some of the resentment you think when you look deep down within yourself? If you have a disagreement with an African or you just get so angry, what are some of the things that would just come out and say, well, you guys are like this?
Well, I see what you're saying, and as far as like resentment,
Mm-hmm,
um, learning about African history and what actually happened to our people,
mm-hmm,
um, that were taken from Africa and I would say like kidnapped and actually taken to different corners of the world.
mm-hmm.
Uh, that history is very complex as far as uh, Africans selling their own people. That's
People.
kind of a kind of a kind of a complex thing. It wasn't that you had an Ashanti person, um, literally going down the street and like kidnap, his own brother from the Ashanti tribe, and and like and like, hey, yeah, I'm gonna take you to the Europeans, and I'm gonna get something out of it. No, it wasn't like that. What really happened, it actually was actually initiated by the uh, the actual Arabs that actually started this whole thing.
Mm-hmm.
African people before that, we had our own version of like slavery, which I don't think it's actually slavery. It was indentured servitude, and where you know i- we take prisoners of war and we make them work and pay off their dues, and then we give them an option to where if you would like to actually stay within our empire, you can, or you can go back home. And that's how we built relations between the tribes, and that's how the tribes grew.
Mm-hmm.
But when the Arabs came around, they realized, hey, you don't need to do that. You can actually give these people to us. We can put them to use. And and it actually informed the Europeans that way. And the Europeans kind of got a little greedy and came into Africa, and with their own tactics and strategies to win over certain kingdoms and turn the other kingdoms against each other. That's pretty much what happened.
Happen. Mm-hmm.
So now, as far as resentment, I don't really have. I don't have resentment towards my brothers and sisters. Like I said, I actually called in actually yesterday or last night.
Okay. Yeah.
Um, Originally born in Congo. I left Congo when I was 7 years old, and
Mm-hmm.
raised in Boise, Idaho. Um, I'll tell you one thing though. When I first moved to the
Okay.
U.S. I had when I first got to my elementary school, first grade actually. I had three brothers. Brothers from African American. Africans that were born in America, I would say that. I wouldn't call African Americans because I don't believe in such a thing. We are all Africans. Um, at first, they called me a monkey, you know.
Oh,
Yeah. Uh, that was the most interesting thing because at first I was like, hey, there's somebody, people that look like me, and they're my people, so I'm gonna try to get close to them. And I was very happy because I mean, you think about it, Boise, Idaho, man, that's like
mm-hmm.
the whitest state in America where you don't see that many black people around. Anyway, so let's make it, long story
Sure.
short. I mean, I ended up like becoming friends with them because time passed on. We became, we were adults after that. But I don't think I don't have any resentment. But I
Same.
think, yeah, I don't have any resentment. But I think what we need to focus on is that we've been separated for such a long time, right?
Okay.
And it was due. It was by actually design to do that.
Okay.
Our brothers and sisters here in America, they developed a different culture and a way of life. And in Africa, we actually went through our own thing over there to where our forefathers, they had to conform to some kind of a midway Europeanized and still trying to keep their African culture at the same time. You get what I'm
Mm-hmm.
saying? Uh, and to the point where we actually, as Africans in Africa, we are somehow we're like striving or thrive to try and kick our African culture aside and acquire this European
European.
identity.
Right.
You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And which I saw that within my family as well, to where I'm no longer a Christian at all. I'm not a
Mm-hmm.
Christian. I had to
And,
literally
and,
literally when you win somebody's spirituality and you're trying to take on someone else's spirituality, you lose.
right. And let me even point this out. Just like you just said this, we're trying to really imitate all the culture from Europe and everything. And I'm a prime example of what you just said because I grew up in a village. At 8 years old, we came to the city in Accra, right? And
Hmm.
at that time, I was just like 8 years old. My name was Kofi Boedu, right? And when I
Hmm.
went to school for the first time, in the city, everyone had an English name eventually. So when I went
Yeah.
home, I told my dad, and the kids were like, why don't you have an English name? Why don't you
Yeah.
have an English name? So when I went, I told my dad, I need an English name. You see what I'm saying? So my dad,
Mm.
yeah, my dad eventually said, well, okay, you'll be called Daniel. So I actually had to add Daniel to my name. I think when I was in kindergarten, I think around like 12 years old, that's when I had the name Daniel added to my name. But initially, that wasn't my part of my name until I came to the city and got brainwashed with that.
Yeah. And that's just like what you just said, and that's pretty much what's going on in Africa. And that's the same thing that actually happened to our brothers and sisters here in America. They had to literally beat. I'm talking to you like beat, the African out of them. Like
Mm,
literally, they beat the African out of them, and in the
them, yeah,
process, they were telling them that your people back there in Africa, where you came from, they don't care about you. They don't like you. They don't, matter of fact, they don't want to see you there. And this continued on till to this day in the
yeah.
media, showing Africans in a bad light, in a negative light, that these people are savages, they're killing each other. And I remember actually there was a little cartoon that one of my friends showed me, like back in the day, where I mean, that wasn't even a cartoon. I think it was like some kind of one of those silent movies
Mm-hmm.
where you had these like like Hollywood actors back in the 1900s acting out on how Africa is, and they had this like white people in the jungle of Africa somewhere, and then they got captured by these African villagers, and then they had this big old bonfire with a big old pot in there, and they were acting like they were going to put him in his pot to cook him.
Mm. Oh,
Like,
wow.
Yeah. So these are the images that our brothers and sisters, saw. And I mean, that really affects your mind, and that really plays something in your mind to a point where you're like, you know what, if this is the place where I come from, I don't even want to associate with them.
Myself. Yeah.
Yeah.
But thank you so much. There's a lot of people on here.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Anyway, just by closing, I have to say that we really, really need to learn each other's culture and both our backgrounds to really get together and like move forward on this. I don't think, for me, there's no any bad energy towards my brothers and sisters.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I really appreciate that.
Thank you.
Yeah. Stay blessed.
All right, man.
Hi, Nyame. That's the same.
Peace. How you doing?
I'm good. Do you know the meaning of the Nyame name?
Yes, I do.
Oh, okay. All right. Thanks for calling in.
Oh, thanks for having me on. I really enjoy the show. When I started this journey, maybe 10, 15 years ago, you wouldn't find any shows like this on YouTube. So I'm really seeing Pan-Africanism at work. Because 10 years ago, people were saying Pan-Africanism is dead. You trying to revive something, it's past, it's never going to work. And I said, no, you don't understand. It doesn't have to be on television. No, we don't have the United Africa yet, but people are learning. People are coming to the knowledge of who they are. And now you're really starting to see the fruits of a lot of work in the early days of YouTube and social media, where people are really starting to say, hey, I'm African. Even though there's a lot of fight, there's still a lot to go, but seeing shows like this, that's what we need. We need positive influences between Africans, African Americans, Afro-Cubans, Afro-Brazilian. We need those positive images, and then the younger people will start to follow because of the positive images. Yeah. Like the movie Black Panther. It was so many positive images. And then when I saw the director, there was a scene where they was in the casino and the three people had on red, black, and green. And he said he purposely put that on them to represent Pan-Africanism. Yeah. So, the brother, he's like 32 years old who directed the movie. So it's not dead.
Yeah, it's not really dead. And, when you even look back at the African history and the past precedent that we have had on the continent, you realize every president that we had that stood on the grounds of Pan-Africanism basically offered more for their own people compared to, those who just came in and, they stood up for Pan-Africanism. So it's a movement. Some people just take it as a hate movement towards other races. But if you pay attention, the basis of Pan-Africanism is our people come first. Simple as ABCD.
Right. There's no hate in it. And I'm an Nkrumahist. My political ideology is Nkrumahism.
Yeah. People hate him for so many reasons. And it's crazy because even in Ghana, there are people who don't like Nkrumah for whatever reason. It doesn't make sense to me, but he did a lot for the country up to this day. Hello?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, sorry, I hit the mute button. But yeah.
Okay.
Even here, there's people that don't understand in Nkrumah, and I try to tell them, you don't understand. He's the link. He came to America and got introduced with the boys and was inspired by
Marcus
Marcus
Garvey.
Garvey. Yeah, yeah. And then he takes it back to Africa and it spreads. He becomes the Garvey of Africa. You don't see the connection. You don't see the positivity.
Yeah, and even with a black star in the Ghana flag was actually taken from Marcus Garvey.
Yeah,
That's where he got the black star from. And initially, he wanted to have a United States of Africa. That's why he married from Egypt, because he wanted to learn more about Egyptians and how the
yeah,
pyramids and everything. And he was basically, I think, a prime minister in another African country. I think whether it's Gabon, I forgot the African country. So basically, he had an ultimate goal of that United States of Africa before
yeah.
Kutuka betrayed him,
Right,
to the
right,
Europeans.
right. And everybody loves Patrice Lumumba, but they don't understand he was a Pan African. But what they did is in neo-colonialism, they start paying these other leaders to talk
Mhm.
down against Pan Africanism, and we have the fight that we have today. But you're right. Africa's fastest growth was under the Pan African leaders, and
Yes, yeah.
then when all the leaders started to embrace capitalism, and I'm not trying to talk against it, but when they started embracing capitalism, you see this disparate rich, these people that's ultra rich, and then you have the low working class. So
Hmm.
so we
Yeah.
really need to take a look.
So you don't have any type of resentment, anyway, anyhow about, people on the African continent. It's just, you have really grown and bypassed that stage.
Oh yeah. I'm way past that stage. Even I know the history. I know the history of the Dahomey and Benin and some of the brothers of the Khan brothers. But I look at it as history that we can learn from. Because
Okay.
we even have problems here where black people did things in the United States that set us back. But if we just learn from it and move forward, keeping positive. The main goal is keeping positive. I think of Harriet Tubman. You know, she had to stay positive. She was able to free herself, but she was so positive she went back to get other people because she really believed in what she was doing. And the same thing like you, brother. Just keep the positivity flowing, and the fruits is gonna come.
Thank you so much. I basically started this 4 years ago on Facebook. I just joined YouTube with it, but I've helped people move to Ghana before and other stuff. And I do trips to Ghana, take a lot of African diaspora. We eventually go to villages, basically the images that was shown that people try to run away from. I try to let them, understand we have to embrace it. There's nothing wrong, despite, the fact that we don't have tall buildings and other stuff has nothing to do with poverty. We have to embrace our natural state and how African culture is, in one way or the other. We don't have to really define our culture based on European standard. It's
Right,
too
right,
complex for them. The fact that Europeans push a specific freedom agenda doesn't mean it's for us. We don't have to always make our decisions based on their standard. You know what I'm
right,
saying?
right, right.
Yeah,
Exactly. So
yeah.
that's all I wanted to say. So
Thank you
thank you
so much.
for. All right. Peace and blessings.
All right, all right. Calling. You can call in. You can call in. I'm sorry, those who couldn't wait. You can call in now. We don't have any caller on the line, so you can call in now. But what are some of the resentment that has been built within African from the continent watching? If you are an African diaspora watching, what are some of the resentment that has been built within you for the past years growing up? And how do we bypass that stage and say, hey, we should forgive ourselves, we should bypass that and focus on the future the unity is more righteous than, however we feel right now against each other. How do we bypass that stage? How do we really forgive one another? I'm sorry, call in Aisha. Call in Aisha. I'm sorry, call in. Yeah, but how do we bypass that stage? Call in, share your experience and what you think. It's really important we have these conversations periodically. It is really important. We should really talk about it. The more we express ourselves, the more I think we will come to a point of forgiving. We have to understand each other first. We have to understand each other first. Hello.
Oh, okay. Sorry, I'm just calling back in because I don't think I had my point across.
Okay.
So the way forward is to pretty much basically try our best to understand each other's struggle and each other's culture and where we are coming from. All right. And that will definitely open the doors. You get what I mean? And basically basically the most important thing that we definitely need to establish in Africa is to what just that the sister before me when I came into the chat said is through definitely education of acquiring experiences of our brothers and sisters in the diaspora on what they went through, because in Africa we did not know what our brothers and sisters went through.
Yeah,
we are very, very, very ignorant when it comes to
about
that.
it.
A regular, normal African on the street does not know that there are actually brothers and sisters that were actually taken from Africa and actually brought to America or in the diaspora. We definitely need to educate our African people all over Africa, the whole entire continent, and actually give them the truth on what happened, right? Once they understand that, once we understand that in Africa, it'll be much easier to understand our brothers and sisters when they come to Africa and actually, like nurture them and treat and actually treat them like a very fragile egg, because it's a very, very sensitive subject when it comes to our brothers and sisters in the diaspora, especially, the Brazilian African Americans. Well, Haitians and Jamaicans, they pretty much just like us, because these people are very, very resilient, and then they had to fight. You know what I mean? And because they were the majority, and within those nations, right? But African Americans, they did not have the numbers at that time. They were outnumbered, and they were little. They went. I mean, I'm telling you. I mean, I went through high school here, and I didn't really learn about African American history. They were here and there, but I truly had to go out of my way to learn about Frederick Douglass, even Marcus Garvey, Phyllis Whitley. She was pretty much one of the first, poet, in a female poet here in America, a black American, in which she was actually kidnapped from Africa in the Senegambia, and then she was brought here at age 9. You get what I'm saying? W.E. Du Bois, of course, Martin Luther King. What was his name actually? I mean, of course, when it comes to the Haitian Revolution, I learned about Jean-Jacques Dessalines and Bookman and all of that. So I feel that we definitely need to understand each other's culture and our history in order to come together and sit down on the table and talk about it and move forward with that. I think that's very, very important. Just like the sister, what she was saying, definitely through education. And another thing, we definitely need to dismantle the education system in Africa completely, from like, I don't know, dismantle it and build it back up again with
Yeah,
an
new
African.
curriculum.
I'm sorry?
I said we need a new curriculum for our education system.
Yeah, definitely. We need to dismantle it and build it back up again with an African perspective. You get what I mean? And that's what I have. That's all.
Okay, thank you so much for calling in again. I really appreciate you always being on here. I really appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Thank you much, brother.
All right. Calling. Make sure you call in. Make sure you call in. Make sure you call in. Call in. That's the link down there. Make sure you smash the like button. And if you haven't subscribed to the platform, call in. Share your opinion, your suggestion, your experience. What do you think we should do? A lot of people suggested we should just, bypass it through education. We should educate each other. We should have conversations like this. What do you think? What are some of the resentment that has been, built within you for the past years growing up that you felt, what? I really don't want to associate myself, with Africa. It shouldn't be even now. Growing up, how did you feel about Africa, and what was the reason? Just share. Let's talk about it. How did you feel about Africa growing up, and what was the reason? And do you still have any resentment within you? Because I know, there's a lot of people who feel they need to travel back to Africa, they need to move back to Africa, but there's still this type of resentment, when it comes to having the African conversation. A lot of people come out and say, well, this is it, the African continent is this, Africans are this way. And I think we are trying to come together. And I think we need to really talk about these things and go past it. And how do we even do it? If you want to come together, we need to have some type of forgiveness. So how do we forgive each other, and how do we bypass and get rid of those resentment that we have built in within ourselves for the past years going up? Just calling. Somebody said, I'm mad, being lied to my whole life about Africa. This is what I'm talking about. A lot of people was miseducated about the African continent, and there's millions of Africans on the continent who have no knowledge, education about the history of the African diaspora. So we need to really have these conversations on these platforms now that we have easy access, to talk about this. And, I believe the more we talk, the more we share our experiences, coming together, the unification will be faster than we think, So we need to really learn about each other's history. We need to really learn about our differences, culture, growing up. We need to listen, and we have to be a little bit sensitive. Hi, thanks for joining. How are you doing today? Hello?
Hey, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great, man. How about yourself, bro?
I'm good. Thanks for joining.
Great, man. Hey, I just want to let you know that I enjoy your channel and pretty much everything you stand for, man. I have been following you for a little over, I would say, 3 months now, and I've really enjoyed your content. And
Okay.
keep up the good work. And yeah, man, I was gonna also, sorry, there's a lot of background noise here. Yeah, I was also gonna to say something about this topic. I think, like the brother just said, man, it boils down to education,
Okay.
The biggest problem, I think, on both sides, though, this is with Africans in the continent and Africans in the diaspora, right?
Okay.
a lot of us have not really come to the understanding that we have a common enemy, right? And whatever experiment that was done here in the Americas, right, was also done in Africa, right? I live here in the U.S. and I'm an African immigrant. Got here, studied, did my master's here and everything, and started working. Right, my first job. I'll just give you an experience I had. My first job as an engineer was with here in the oil and gas. I'm a petroleum engineer, so I came in the industry, worked with a few guys. I never had a black man around me, right, in this position. So the first guy I had was a brother from New York. I think he was transferred to Texas at the time. So we became friends. Obviously, the only black guy seen in the industry in my I'll say my area for after being in the industry for like 2-3 years, and we started talking, right? And what I learned from this brother, man, pretty much shaped my life in the U.S.
Wow.
Right? It started off with animosity, not a bad one, but he had this mindset, this belief based on how they were educated in the U.S. that we sold them, Africans sold them, right, to the slave masters, and yeah, something that's crazy, right? It's deep, and I didn't take it for granted, but for the first time I was hearing that, and I'm very, very deep with my culture. I'm not here to defend the whole of Africa. I'm not saying it didn't happen, but what I made this brother understand was, look, Africans didn't, build those ships. Africans didn't design those shackles. Africans did not. Look, we've been doing business. We've been trading. Africans have been trading with these guys. Look at take for instance what how the CIA operates today and the FBI. It's no different from what they've been doing. They came into a land, came for business, and while they were there, they pretty much scanned the area and they were overwhelmed. They were surprised by what was happening in Africa back then. I don't know if you've studied anything about the Benin Kingdom, right? How the street lights and all this stuff were there before the Europeans even knew what that was. So they were fascinated by everything, and of course they came to trade, but they spent time and studied our people. Yes, we can say our forefathers, got too complacent. Our forefathers got too I'll say they trusted these folks to where they let them in on a lot of our secrets. So if you look at Africa's history, right? Right after all the great things we knew about Africa started before slavery, right? Right after slavery, Africa started, pretty much descending, at a very, very alarming rate. All we heard about Africa was a crumbling empire and this and that and that. That's because these people came, saw our best, took our best minds, kidnapped them, and pretty much took them to the Americas and Europe and wherever as slaves. And it's an experiment that was done in Africa, it was done in America, and it's to some extent it's still happening right now. So people need to understand that Africans, right, in the continent didn't have it easy. We also have our problems. We were messed up. You got to realize they took our brothers, our ancestors from us. They experimented on us after they realized, well, they can't put everybody in a ship and take them to Europe and Americas. They came down and colonized us. And, I've been brainwashed. Look, a typical African is no different from an African American, in my opinion. The only difference is we're a little bit in sync with our culture. And that's what has, as I'm speaking for myself, and that's what has helped me navigate through life in the Americas. Because whenever I see how things are done here, as someone that studies, right, I look at it and look at what's happening back home. It is no different. It's just happening in America. We were also, look, we were lynched. We were, you know, they fed our babies to crocodiles. It happened in Angola. You know, they did all these things, right? They infiltrated our systems. They you know, try to water down our culture. I've ever heard of assimilation? Where did that come
Yeah,
from? You know, these
yeah,
things are there, but somehow these brothers and sisters, right? I'm not, you know, trying to make anyone look bad, but they need to understand that, look, we're all victim of the same. We're victims of the
the same struggles.
same structure, right? The same struggle. We're all going through the same thing. And education is key. It's really important because what we were taught in Africa, right, about
Hmm.
our brothers and sisters here, it's the complete opposite. So whenever personally, whenever I see something coming from you know, America, or you know, wherever it is in Africa about our people, I flip it the other way around and get the
Hmm.
truth out of it. And that it's been working for me. So if they tell me, hey man, don't get close to the African American community, guess what? I get close to them and try to study them, and I realize it's all they're just messing with our brains.
Yeah, yeah.
So education is really, really, really important. So
And
before yeah,
mhm.
yeah, go ahead.
And what I realized too is I've met a lot of African diaspora. Basically, I study programming in Cleveland State, and when I meet a lot of African diaspora, especially the young ones, people in their 20s, 30s, and they are so curious about Africa, right? And
Yeah,
I feel like they just want to know more, but they just don't have much information about the continent. I could just feel the love they have personally within themselves, trying to find out, okay, oh, how is it over there, and all that stuff. They have that kind of curiosity. They just wanted to know, but I could just feel the miseducation.
yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. We just on the same, you know, freaking, you know, race, man. I think it's time for us to get together,
Hmm.
study our history, right? Because another problem with Africa is we've allowed foreigners write our history, right? And that's why you guys are. I really enjoy what you guys are doing, trying to change the narrative,
Hmm.
because once you allow people, you know, in our culture, right? Africa, we're not used to. Our forefathers weren't used to, you know, the literature. They
Writing.
weren't used to
Yeah.
writing, so
Yeah.
everything was pretty much you've got to.
Oral.
It's more of exactly. It's more of a verbal, you know, thing. You know, wisdom, like they say. As always, you got to be taught. You know, you
Right.
got to be. You got to be. Look, I can tell you with 100% confidence, right? There's
Hmm.
nobody from my lineage, right, that sold any slaves. I've got history. I'm from Benin. You know,
Okay.
we're deep. We're really cultural people. My background has not been watered down at all. You know, I'm not fascinated by what I see in the West. Look, if you of course I'm sure you share the same ideas. If you look at where we come from and what we know about our history and culture, you wouldn't trade it for anything. You know, I came
Hmm.
to the West, and I can tell you I will never ever, and I'm doing the same thing with my kids. I will never ever trade, because what we see here is so fake. It's all synthetic. It's like a propaganda, right? It's just, you
It's
know,
all branding.
it's exactly. Why would you want to trade, you know, that rich African culture for this? I don't understand. So this is
See,
not heaven.
it's never heaven. America is a place that when I just got
Eh,
here, I realized this place is only
It's
a
all fake,
corporate
just
system.
inflated. Exactly,
Yeah,
exactly.
a place for
It's pro.
business, not a place for people to raise kids, start a family. It's not a place where you can basically start anything fruitful other than business. You can be here for business, but other than that, I don't see this place being a place where you can raise a family. And I
Exactly.
always say, right after I'm done with school, back home, invest everything back there. I still, all my investment
Make
is
your
not
money
done.
and exactly and go to Africa, and that's what I've been doing. I've been doing that for quite some time.
Yeah, all
And
my
and
investment.
and you talk about all the experiment they've done to our people here in the US, right, in the Americas, also the redlining and all that. Come on, we also have the same thing in Africa, right? Classism is basically the same thing. They came and pretty much took our corruption started in Africa when the Europeans came.
King.
We knew before they came, we knew not to lie over things. We knew not to stab our brothers. We knew not to do all those things because guess what? We have the traditional beliefs. We had the Ogun. You swear with our medals, and you speak the truth. They came introduced Bible, and now judges, lawyers, and everybody has swears an oath, and then
And this
lies
is it.
after that.
This is it. Let me
You
put it
know,
in this into perspective, right? Despite Africans right now are too religious and have most of the European religion, we still have a fear. We fear
of
our
course, we
spirituality
know that. We
more.
know you don't mess with that. You know that.
Mess with that.
You know that. If
Yeah,
you
politicians can
yep,
never swear with
yeah.
their ancestral gods when they come to power because they know it will work, so they don't want to use it.
Exactly. People get humbled once they get anywhere close to our native I'll say traditions and belief. You can do whatever you want with the Bible, but once you get close to that shit, you know it's no one is faking. It's real because that's how our ancestors grew up, and it's the tradition.
Yeah,
That's how things were before things got screwed up the way they currently are.
yeah.
So,
Because see, I made a post one time
but
on Facebook, and I was saying, well, before even there was a clock, our forefathers were telling time by just looking at the sun. And my father is a prime example. He could tell it's 5 o'clock, quarter to 6, 7 by just looking at the sun. We were so intelligent in so many ways that it was just crazy how we traded it for
yeah,
Western things. It's crazy.
it's crazy. So
Yeah.
I think it boils down to education, brother. Education
Thank you
from
so
both
much.
sides, and I would tell my African American brothers,
Yeah.
we love them. I didn't come here with a chip on my shoulder. I came to the U.S. to America with an open mind. I came to do my thing, and my intention is not to stay here. It has never been. I try to go home every year, and
Yeah.
supervise my projects and see how things are going and all of that stuff. And then the sooner we start getting together and doing things, I think it's gonna the sooner we will truly liberate our people, because the education is key here on both sides.
Thank you. Thank you. We have a lot of people.
Education is key.
Thank you so much.
Hey,
Thank
can you
you.
hear me?
Yes, yes. Thank, thank you so much. We have a lot of people online. I just wanted to bring them in as well.
Yes, sir. Well, thank you very much, man. Keep up the good work.
You too. Stay blessed, brother.
Yeah, bye.
Bye. Hi, how are you doing?
Hey, Dank, how you doing?
I'm fine. I'm fine. Thanks for your patience. Thanks for your patience. Thanks for your patience.
No problem. I just wanted to piggyback pretty much off of what your previous callers were talking about.
Okay.
Um, when I was growing up, what they mostly taught us about Africa, or what we mostly saw, and this was pre-smartphone, this was before it was computers and laptops in everybody's house. All we had were the books and what we saw on TV. And
Okay.
a lot of what they showed us were, you know, the tribes living in huts and safari. And so we kind of grew up thinking that that was all that Africa was. It was tribes of people living in mud huts, and it was all safari and things of that nature. So while they were here teaching us this, Lord knows what they were there teaching you guys about us. And
Mm-hmm.
I didn't come to know the differences in what we were taught about each other and how much of what each of us really were held back from each side until probably my I want to say early 20s, when
Mm-hmm.
social media became a thing. People started having computers more readily, and we had a lot more information available to us. And I remember I had made a friend in South Africa on MySpace back when MySpace was popular.
Yeah.
And we used to talk almost every day. And I was amazed that she even had a MySpace. And she's like,
Yeah.
girl, yeah, I got a computer just like you got a computer. And it was like weird. And I was like, girl, all they ever show us is mud huts and starving Ethiopian children. And that like that's all we ever see. And
Yeah.
so one time I was talking to her, she was like, oh, I'm going to the mall. And I remember saying, oh my God, you have a mall?
And hold
I
on, let
was
me
so
tell you this. Hold on, let me tell you this. Growing up in Ghana, all what we've seen about the US is, beautiful cities. We never saw any violent black people getting shot, police discrimination. All that stuff was never shown to us because America protected their media information so much that we only saw the glamour and all that stuff. So we got exposed to all these social injustice that has been going on for so many years that we were not aware of when social media became accessible to everyone. You see what I'm saying? So social media really got information exposed easily to us, and that's I think the byproduct of what we have right now. But we were really misinformed on both sides.
They made sure they did that by design. They made sure they never wanted you guys to know what we were going through over here, and they never wanted us to reconnect with you guys. So they tried to make us think, oh, if you go there, you'll starve, you'll have to live in a mud hut, there's no technology. It was all by design. And that's because if you can keep, I mean, in America, we don't represent a large portion of the population. You see that now.
Mm-hmm.
So if they could keep us apart, they can keep those of us who are here in the minority pretty much living the way they want us to. Because even in the past, when we've tried to build up great cities here, and we tried to have, things like Black Wall Street, what did they do? They came in and they burned them down to the ground and made us feel that we had no choice but to stay here and take it, because your only alternative was to go to Africa and live in mud huts and be in the safari. So I
Wow.
think now that we have much more access to information. Pretty much everybody is walking around with a device in their pocket that has just limitless information at their fingertips. I think now, and especially for some of the younger people, you don't have to go by what they feed you. You can get
Mm.
out and get this knowledge for yourself. You can learn
So,
things for yourself. You don't have to stick with just what American media shows you. And the fact that some of the older ones, I understand, are stuck on what we were raised with. That this is even like my father, for instance. My father is in his 60s. So even when I show him some of the homes in Africa and I tell him about my plans to, repatriate to Africa and things of that nature, it all sounds crazy to him.
to
Because you
him,
got to
yeah.
remember, he's old enough where his grandparents or great grandparents were slaves. So they didn't know anything about Africa except what we were told by the very people who took us out of Africa.
Yeah,
So
that's
I
correct.
just hope for both sides, because
And
basically we're all the same people, whether we were born here or whether you were born on the continent. We're all Africans. Some of us
mhm.
were born where we were supposed to be, where we were great, and some of us were snatched away. But a lot of us are coming back. And the reason why I appreciate you and your platform and what you do is because you're bridging that gap. Whereas I have seen some other platforms where I feel like they're creating an even bigger divide. And I just feel
Mm-hmm.
like that's not in the best interest of any of us, whether we are Africans on the in Americas, or we are Africans in the Caribbean, or we are Africans in the UK, or we are Africans born on a continent. We are all Africans, and
Yes.
all of us have been misled. All of us have been mistreated. And I feel like it's time for us to all get the knowledge that we need and teach that to our children, so our children don't grow up with the same stereotypes and the same misinformation that we grew up.
Mm-hmm.
Because one
Because
thing I found out in my own studies was, like, even like you said, in Ghana, I remember, I think I was talking to you before, and you were like, oh, people wouldn't allow, like, the homelessness and the things you see here. You're like, you don't see that there. Like,
yeah,
someone would bring you into the house, someone would bring you and feed you before they let you go hungry and sleep on the streets like you do.
true. Yeah, yeah.
And a lot
Uh,
of Africans born on the continent, I think they come here and they're shocked to see that as much as they try to make this out to be a utopia and make it seem like all your dreams will come true if you come here, you get here and realize, yo, that was some bullshit.
it's fake. It was fake. This. See, when I was in Ghana, right? When I was in Ghana, all what we grew up knowing was, the best place to be is in the UK, the US, and I'm a type of person, uh I really pay attention to details, and I really like freedom, right? And
Yeah.
I really don't like to conform to, comfort, or where, if somebody trying to take care of me. I really like to be free. So when I first came to this country and I just stayed for 3 months, and I called my mom on the phone and I said, this place is the worst. And my mom was like, what do you mean? And I'm like, you when you come here, right? The temperature doesn't favor you. Secondly, you go through the west to find healthy food to eat. Three,
Yes.
people over here are not friendly. Everyone is too private, and it feels like you are in a robotic environment where everyone feels like you about to attack them. Even when you say hello, how you doing? When you try to be nice, everyone feels like you are weird. It's so uncomfortable here. It
Yeah.
just
You
it,
can't
it's
even be
just
too nice because that makes you suspicious.
right. You can't be. It gets to a point where, in Africa, if somebody sees your child, they say, "Hey, how you doing?" Everyone tries to be nice. Here, you can't be. I had to learn not to even smile to somebody's child, because boom, you are a pedophile. You are this. You are this. So you keep you. It's so weird. Trust me. You can
The
never be
problem
yourself.
is,
Being
it's the powers that be. It's the people who are in the majority here, what they have shown people for so many years, and it just became the norm here. And what I try to tell people around me is the way we live here, the way you have to fear if you walk into the wrong neighborhood, if it's an all white neighborhood, can one of the people run out and shoot you? Can they call the cops on you just for walking and the cops come and kill you? The
yeah.
incarceration, the way that a black man here can commit the same exact infraction as a white man here, and he will still get 3 times as much time. Like, the
Mhm.
things that go on here, again, we've been led to believe we have no choice but to take it here because it's not going to be better anywhere else.
Yeah,
And I like to challenge people. I like to
mm-hmm.
challenge people to look outside of that because we've been lied to.
Yeah,
Like you
and
said, here is good to make your money. Here is
business
not good to
is a
live and
corporation.
raise your family.
Yep, it's a corporation. It's only good for business. Other than that, if you make your money, in my perspective, the best place you could ever live is on the African continent. Over here, everything is strategized to be monetized. From everything. Even sexuality has been monetized these days. When it comes to home ownership, is being monetized by the bankers, where you actually don't own the home, but it's a dream being sold. The only place you can own a home 100% is on the African continent. Over here, if
Exactly.
you you own a home and still you done paying your mortgages and you don't pay your taxes, the house will be taken from you, not on the African
Exactly.
continent.
Exactly. And I've tried to tell people that I'm like, home ownership here is an illusion because if you fall on some kind of hard times and you can't pay those taxes, guess what? That home is no longer yours.
Yours. The banks come in, they are the rightful owners. They take it. But thank you so much. There's a lot of people on here. Let me bring in. Thank you
Oh,
so
no
much.
problem. You guys have a good night, and I enjoyed talking with you.
You too. Stay blessed.
Bye bye.
Bye. Hi, how you doing? You want to come back again?
Yes, I would say I'm sorry, but I'm not. I just had to respond. I want to say that I agree 100% with the last caller. Everything she said was so on point, and I can relate to it.
Mm-hmm.
But I wanted to comment in response to the previous gentleman who you were speaking with, and I wanted to
Mm-hmm.
explain, I wanted to just kind of touch on some of the things that he mentioned. Now, you're the topic of tonight is what are some of the things that kind of sort of cause that rift
Mm-hmm.
between
Us.
Africans and African Americans or other Africans throughout the diaspora. I'm assuming not just African Americans. One of the things that I just want to express now, I cannot speak for everybody.
Mm-hmm.
However, I do want to say that a sore spot
Mm-hmm.
is oftentimes when Africans have the perspective that slavery or enslavement was just a little bit different than the colonization that was experienced throughout the continent.
Mm-hmm.
And so, what I wanted to touch on is the fact that the experience was very different, and the
Mm-hmm.
effects of that experience are very, very different.
Mm-hmm.
Not to say that one was any better or worse than the other, but to acknowledge simply that is very, very, very different and therefore has such a different um, um, effect on the survivors. So, for instance, the gentleman indicated that he's from Benin, right? He can
Okay.
trace back his lineage. You can go back home when you're done with your studies. We do not have a home to go back to. We do
Yeah.
not have a place where we fit in. It is not the same. It's very different because we are completely disconnected from everything, language, culture, history, um lineage. We have nothing.
Yeah.
Nothing. The only thing that we can rely on is a scientific test that we have to take their word. We have to take their word for it that, oh yeah, our test said that you came from Kenya. Oh yeah, never mind the fact that nobody else came from Kenya, but our test said that you came from Kenya.
Mm-hmm.
Well, or the test said that you came from XYZ, right? And so I'm not saying that science is not true. I'm not, trying to dispel any of that. I'm just making the point that that is the only thing that we have to go on. That is the only thing that could connect us. And then even when we have a feeling, I might say, well, I just feel like I came from the Mandinka people. Well, I don't have any explanation as to why I might feel that way, right?
Right.
I
Mm-hmm.
didn't pay the $300 for the African DNA test, right? So I don't
Mm-hmm.
know this for certain, but I just feel that way. But when I go back, that doesn't mean that I'm going to automatically be accepted. It doesn't mean that I'm going to be in that community and they say, yes, we know her. We know her people. We know her grandparents' grandparents. We don't have that level of connection at all. And
Oh.
so it's hurtful to us when people say, Oh, it's just a little different. It's, so, the fact of the matter is not that one was worse than the other, but just the acknowledgement that is very different.
Different. Okay. Okay. Thank you so much. I see what you're saying. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right.
Bye bye.
Bye. Hi, B2B. How you doing? Thanks for joining. I really appreciate your time, waiting, and everything.
Hi. It's the first time I've ever called in, so I'm a little bit nervous, so bear with
You from
me.
the UK? I could
Um,
tell from the accent.
and thank you for your content and for your show. And I just want a little bit to add is
Okay.
basically, obviously, I'm in the UK, and I
Mm-hmm.
just want to say that for this is the first time that I've ever had any dialogue with Black Americans or Africans from the continent. So it's the first time I'm hearing, listening to accents, listening to different voices and different experiences. And I
I'm proud.
think
I'm proud for making this happen. I'm
yeah, and I
proud.
think this is really an important part of moving forward. And what I wanted to add also is, like a caller said, that her parents had this image, and she sort of gained this image through her parents about other black in the continent and Black America. Yeah, the other blacks. What I wanted to
Mm-hmm.
say is we've also got to think about our children, because my children have this same image. So now I'm going on this journey. I'm slowly introducing the experience of Black Americans and the African continent to them, and they still have this image that has been brainwashed in us. And I just want us to think also about how we expose our children, to how we sort of retrain their brain. So I agree that education is vital, but we also got to think about the imagery, that it's a slow burn. It's still happening. It's happening through the forums that our children are on, the TikTok, the things they're exposed to. Like my children are very much into Asian culture, um, and nothing positive about Africa. So it's still happening. So it happened in the past to us while we had this division. But I'm just wanting to say that we also have to be aware that it's happening now. It's still happening.
Happening
And it's
now.
teaching our children to continue these divisions. So on my part, I've not challenged my children, but what I'm trying to do personally is now in the home, I'm slowly exposing them to the continent. The choice now, we were going to go to Europe for holiday, for instance, next year. Now we're coming to the continent, and we've never been to the continent, but I've changed, subtly changing my behaviors. I'm exposing them to more content on the TV, or music from the continent, and having small discussions with them. So I just want everyone to understand that we also have to very smart about how we introduce. We still, it's still a work in process at the moment, and we have to be introducing our children, the future generation, and dispelling the myths that have been, brainwashed into us. We have to be working actively that the future generation don't have that division. So that's just what I wanted to say. But thank you.
Thank you so much, and I really appreciate the fact that you are doing your best. Now, after passing this knowledge to your children, I believe when they grow up, the next generation will be different. So it's
Yes.
really important that you have started from that perspective. Education is key, and especially since they are young, trust me, they
Yes.
will catch up with it, and their mind will change totally when you
Hmm.
visit, when you expose them to African shows, channels like Wodemaya's channels, and those beautiful images and other, cultural perspective and explanation, trust me, you know,
Mm-hmm.
you have changed the whole generation perspective.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You know,
Thank
thank you
yeah.
so much.
Thank you. Thank you. Keep up the good
All right.
work. Thank you. Bye.
Uh,
Bye.
all right, stay blessed. Hi, thank you for joining. How are you doing today?
I'm doing good. How are you tonight?
I'm fine. I'm fine. I cannot complain.
That's good.
Fine.
That's good. I want to say I love your channel. I love the
Thank you.
content of your channel. I'm here in the US. And I want to say this. I feel that, there's a big disconnect going on between the diaspora and the African people of the continent, because I feel that from our ancestors being torn away from the continent and
Mm-hmm.
brought here to America, it made everything broken to me. You know what I'm
Okay.
saying? Like far as learning each other, knowing about each other, it's just we're on two different sides of the fence, so to speak. You know what I'm
Mm-hmm.
saying? It's like here in America, we only know what we see from
Okay.
TV, television, and like everyone else said, I grew up with all these bad images of Africa and the continent. I've never seen anything good about the continent. Not that, it was on purpose for us, but I think that was a divide intentionally to keep us divided because, unity is key.
See.
And if you're not unified, you're not strong. You'll fall for anything. So I
Mm-hmm.
feel that as long as we stay divided and we don't come together and try to sit down and talk things out, we both need to sit down, the African people of the continent and us over here in America. We need to sit down and hash this out because we can't live together peacefully if we don't do this.
This, yeah.
It's going to be a lot of conflict. And I know everyone here wants to come to Africa, and trust me, so do I, and I'm planning on doing that. There's just so much divide here. Within the United
Yeah.
States, there's so much divide between the African people here, the African Americans here. So it would be a lot harder for us to just try to get together without having these forums and being able to hash everything out, everybody voicing their opinions. It's good to know what each side is thinking and how
Right.
each side is feeling. That's very important,
Yeah.
because
Listening
if
to our stories and paying attention to our individual experiences is really important because trust me, growing up, I had no idea about anything called African Americans. To be honest, it took me about I had to get to I think about 20 years to even discover we have Black people in America. You see what I'm saying? It
right,
took me for me to be 20 years to find out, and then it took me extra years to realize, oh, this is how they ended up being there. These people are connected somehow. It took me so many years to find out myself. I didn't get access to that information anyhow. I had to start seeking for it, and then having
right.
conversations. I had to become sensitive to be able to understand. You know, is we need to have these conversations, like you're saying. We need to.
Yes, and it's vital. And I like the last caller said, we here in America feel like we don't belong
Hmm.
anywhere. And I think that is a lot of resentment going on because of that. We can come to Africa, but it's like we don't really know our roots like that. We know our ancestors originated from Africa, but there were so many different tribes that we don't know who we truly belong to.
Okay, so let me put this into perspective as well. Now, we have Ghana, Nigeria, Tanzania, Togo, Benin, all these all these demarcations of the Africa people into countries is the effect of colonization. To be honest, if you take one tribe in Ghana, especially the Hausa people, if you take the Ewa people, you can find these people everywhere, in each African country. You can find Ewa people in Togo, in Benin, in Ghana. They are everywhere. We were, spread across, the whole African continent. Countries
Right.
like Gambia, Seychelles, all these countries should have been cities, not countries. 2 million people. They shouldn't be a country. It should be a city in an African country or a continent. You see what I'm saying? But
Right.
all this demarcation made it so hard for us to really stay united, and that was what I think Europeans really did to have won the whole thing for this 400 years.
Right. And that's sad that they've created such a divide like that. You know what I'm saying? Because like I said, we all, especially during these times, we all need to find a way to work through this, work through our feelings, educate each other, because we have different belief systems and all of that going on. And we just need to sit down, like I said, and just communicate. Communication is key. We need to really communicate and try to bring this together, because like I said, if we want to live as one, we have to have a unified connection between us all.
And
Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, and I believe we have to enjoy the process, because I believe because of social media, us having this conversation, gradually we'll get there. Trust me, I believe having this level of conversation and getting to this point, we were not at this stage, I think, 4 years ago. So I always appreciate the process and the progress and the whole journey. Eventually, Africa will come together. That's how I see it. I believe the future is exciting. Despite all the stuff that keep happening, I believe we will come together.
Right. And I'll say this before I leave. I feel that these platforms that you have and a lot of the other ones have here is really helping bridge the gap between the two of us. But before all of this, we weren't able to connect like this. We weren't able to find out, okay, Africa is more than just, starving children and mud huts and things like that. And they know in Africa now that America is not all of what it seems.
Changed, yeah.
There's a lot.
I keep telling my brothers at home, I said, you know what? Trust me, this place is branded. It's not what it is. It's like you ordering some stuff from Wish, and you just feel like, oh, wow, this is not what I ordered.
Right.
That's how it is. Yeah.
Yes, it's a lot of deception and misconception to people from Africa, because I see a lot of people from Africa wanting to come to America, but I don't think they really understand what's really going on here in America, and they're much better. Yes, until they get here and then they see the reality that, oh my gosh, this is bad. I mean, there's killings going on. There's a lot of animosity towards African Americans and Africans here in the U.S. and it's a whole bunch of turmoil. It's not even worth it. I think I'd rather be in Africa where you can have peace of mind than to come here and have to go through all of this killing and turmoil every day. It's not healthy for your mental or anything else for that matter.
Yeah, and I think the only thing worth being here for is when you get a human resource, which is when you get some type of skill education, you take it back home, you invest, you become resourceful to your own people. That's the main purpose. But don't stay here and start a family, own a home, and all that stuff. I would never let that happen.
No, don't do that.
Yeah.
Don't do it, because it's not worth it. And that's all I wanted to say. And like I said, I really appreciate your content. Keep up the good work.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate your input and everything you do in the comment section as well. Thank you.
Oh, no problem. Thank you.
All right. Bye-bye. Um, Hi, Heavenly Beautiful. How you doing? Hello? Hello?
Oh,
He-
sorry. Hi, brother. How are you doing?
I'm good. How you doing, Swell?
I am doing great. I just want to say I love what you're doing, and I think you naturally have you have it to speak to the masses, and
Okay.
there's a charisma that you have. And I said, wow, this man, he's gonna go very far, and I want
Thank
to
you so much.
encourage you to keep going. You're welcome. You're welcome. I'm a proud Pan-Africanist, proud. And
Mm-hmm.
I would say that I don't like to call myself a Christian
Okay.
because I'm sure lots of the today's Christian would disagree in my concept,
Oh,
in what I believe. Because I believe because I'm also a researcher and a historian. From my research, Christ is actually African.
okay.
And I wanted to touch on some things, and we're all learning, and there's so much for us to learn because of the disconnect. you know People tend to forget that Africans been traveling out of that continent since the beginning of times, and they've been establishing kingdoms from the beginning of times. And what I found in my research is mind blowing and is shocking. um, I have hours of work that I can prove of what I'm saying. But what I do, I just evangelize on YouTube and on the streets, and I just tell them the truth. Or I encourage other YouTubers that are making videos about the word, because it's a lot of work to share. And
Mm-hmm.
what we tend to forget is that they were coming out from the beginning of time. And the whole thing, when you have Noah and the three sons, how I look at it is that, okay, the Europeans ruled. God allowed the Europeans to rule at this time, but their time of ruling is ending. So now we're going back to the land of the blacks. And the way the Europeans divided us intentionally, it was a new world order, because what I read, they were also calling it a new world order system. And it's so interesting that they were very effective with it. There was a reason why they didn't want our ancestors to read. There was a reason why they try to do the divide and conquer, or cause us to even be divided amongst ourselves, even with the whole color system. There is a reason why that similar system is throughout the four corners of the world, even in India today.
Mm-hmm.
People that are descended from Africa that don't even want to associate themselves with Africa, yet they're blacker than me.
Yeah, I
you
know.
know and but Europeans are going to call them, you are Negra, you are a San Negra, whatever. So I believe what we're experiencing now is an awakening. And I just love what the other callers were saying. I can actually sympathize with a lot of the things they were saying. And my parents are from Jamaica, but
Okay.
I was born and raised in New York City. So I have a lot to share, because New York City has its own culture. And
Mm-hmm.
what I can tell you is that I moved to Atlanta and I saw something else. And even me moving to Atlanta, I was culture shock at some of the slowness in Atlanta. Because the United States is very big. And
Yeah.
that's another thing people forget about, and they forget that this entire United States, Canada, going all the way to South America, it's the Americas. This whole side is called the Americas. So when people say I'm from America, I'm like, which America are you from? Because I'm from the USA. I was born in the USA. And
Mm-hmm.
I think there's also a disconnect with even the descendants of slaves.
Mm-hmm.
Those that are descended from that, we have our own disconnect. You understand? And
Mm-hmm.
that too need to be fixed, because no one could tell me that I'm not American. How can you tell me that I'm not Black American, or how can you tell me that I'm not African? You understand what I'm saying? I
Mm-hmm.
feel like we all have the same ancestors. So how can we not? How can we say that? And another thing is that Africans were here prior to the slave trade. That's the reason why the Europeans
Yeah.
knew that they would be able to dwell here. If people, the problem is that there are different cultures, there are different languages, dialects, even within one tribe, or they have one language, that language will have different types of dialects. It has happened even in the blacks in the United States. When I was growing up, they used to
Mm-hmm.
call the language of the that black people spoke here Ebonics. And trust me, they never taught us about being no Igbo
Yeah.
or too much. They didn't teach us too much about the Akans, but because my parents are from Jamaica, I heard about the Akans.
It
I
counts.
heard about
Yeah.
the Ashantis. I this but what happened was my mom, for instance, let me give you an example where a disconnect can happen. My mother grew up in the city. She grew up in Kingston. My parents grew up in Kingston. So they're not going to hold that traditional African culture as the people in the countryside or the village will keep. And that's the same thing that happened in the United States. Because I can tell you for sure, I've been so blessed to be around many Africans. I know the
Mm-hmm.
language. I've lived with them. I eat their food. I cook their food. I've been around different Nigerians. I can tell you I know the culture very well. God, I mean, Ashanti, I mean, all of them. And
Mm-hmm.
what I do is that every time I get around them, I try to learn. I learn the culture. And then, when you're around them, you're going to start to assimilate. There's things you're going to pick up. You're going to learn a lot of things. And then as you're around them, you hear them talking. You're like, wait a minute. I know that word. You guys say that word too? Or when I'm
Yeah.
speaking, or I speak in my mother's, how they speak, they'd be like, oh my God, we say that word too. And we'll laugh together. And
Mm-hmm.
I realize in that when Black Americans say, and I don't want to say like I'm not, they say, oh, we don't have any culture. No, the fact is that as time went on and as different people came here and all this assimilation, a lot of the culture started to get watered down. Like, let me tell you what I remember that they used to do when I was kids in the 80s. And they even did it in the Caribbean. I remember when we had weddings, we would, anytime the bride would get married, she's dancing and she got married, she have on a dress, everybody would throw money to her and put money in her dress. That was just something I remember that they all did. Money would be all over the bride. Now tell me, do you see that happening today? You don't see
In
that happening in the United States or in the
say.
Caribbean because they taught that's improper. They even
Mm-hmm.
taught the way Caribbeans spoke is improper. They taught, I'm telling you, they taught the way Blacks, Americans spoke, the language is improper. You don't speak like that. Oh, you shouldn't wear a scarf on your hair. That's niggerish. That's ghetto. I'm telling you. I'm telling you. So all those little seeds, really kept on eating away at the things that were really our culture. Like I really thought that Jamaicans made up their words. No lie. I used to be like, I thought it was so stupid to have two names. Who have two names? I thought it was something that they make up, and even those things. Another thing that I wanted to say is that, for instance, when you get to know the different tribe, you get to know their language or their culture, you'll start to realize certain things. You're like, wait a minute, like the Mende people. I find a lot of the Hispanic people, they have the name Mende or Manda or Mendoza, you know, or
Yeah.
they will have names that's exactly like Nigerians. It's just that we there's a disconnect there, like Effie. Effie is an old Black American name.
Mm-hmm.
Iffy, Kizzy, Anton, Ebony. Those names weren't taken because, oh, we just want those names because we know they're African. No, those names been around. It's just that, a lot of things were Europeanized. And I really believe that, we just need to really get together. We need to heal. There's a lot of pride and there's a lot of grudges that really need to be destroyed. And the disconnect is also because people don't know that Africans were already here, and then Africans came as slaves, and that's what happened. That I'm telling you the truth. Because how is it that they teach us, oh, we're just West African, but yet in our ancestry DNA, we're finding that we're from all over Africa.
Africa. Yeah.
You know, so I think we need to change our mindset. For instance, nobody could tell me, oh, you need to buy a house in the United States. I'm like, I'm not buying no house that I own already.
Yeah.
You know,
Right.
so I can go on, but I just want to say that,
Yeah.
you know, there's a lot for us to do, but I think we're on the right track.
Yeah,
You
and
know,
and also I just wanted to say, you know, when it comes to even naming, um, in Africa, our names are basically based on two concepts. My name was before I had the Daniel added to my name. It was Kofi Boydie. The Kofi was my eth name. Basically, if you form a tribe, it would tell you, my eth name for Friday. And then the Bwedu is my family name. So when you say, when somebody hear my last name, they could just tell where I'm connected to, where my family is from, everything. So our
wow.
forefathers basically named us in a way where, I don't have to really struggle to take a DNA test to know where you're from. When you just tell me, oh, you will call Chinedu, blah, 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 I know you're from Nigeria. If you say, you know,
Instantly.
yeah, Kofi Buedu, I know, oh, okay, he's from that Santa tribe. It's just, you just know. You see what I'm saying? Based on our names. And that's how our forefathers basically named us. So Jamaicans, Ghanaians, we have so much in culture when it comes to, that. That's why
Yeah,
when you
because they
mentioned
dominate. They were the kings of, you know, you should look into that. They were actually the kings of the Caribbean. And the
hmm
Ashanti, and let me tell you, it wasn't just the Ashantis that ruled, but but let me listen to this. So they have this oral history in the Caribbean, even to South America, called the
hold on for a second.
Tainos.
Let me say that. Hold on for a second. I'm sorry. All those on the line, my sister will wrap up, so you can join as well. So please be patient. Yeah, go
Okay,
ahead.
I'm coming. 1 minute.
Okay.
So basically, real quick, the Tainos and the Arawaks or
Mm-hmm.
Arawak, how you would say it, were speak. Those we call them. They spoke Arawa, or they spoke Lokono, or they spoke Taino or Tano speakers
Mm-hmm.
in the Caribbean. And when I was reading it up in the old like 17, 1600s, I realized those people were Africans. And they are Taino, Tano, that's Ghanaian and Yoruba,
Mm-hmm.
you know.
Yeah.
So and Arawa is it could be Yoruba, Ijebu, or it could be Hausa. So basic, but the Akans basically rule Jamaica.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Thank you so much.
you're welcome.
Thank you
Thank
so.
you.
All
Appreciate it.
right, and stay blessed.
All right. Okay, bye.
Hi, Maddie.
Hi.
I'm sorry you waited so long, but thanks for calling back in.
No, no, it's all right. It's a really interesting conversation we're having, by the way. I don't know. I actually left because I thought like all the sisters said like almost everything I had to say, but I just wanted to add an important point.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm actually a daughter of immigrants.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah. So my parents immigrated from Ethiopia to Saudi Arabia in the Middle East.
Okay.
And but like they never told me like you're Saudi or anything. I always grew up knowing that I'm Ethiopian. We always held the Ethiopian passport.
Yeah.
So knowing that, like I knew my history, I knew all about Africa. Even school, we went to Ethiopian school. So like African history was something important to us. But then like growing up, as the sisters were talking, like we also learned about the American part of like what happened in America and the Black Americans and all of that. So that was like a new thing for me, especially because my sister traveled to America and she had like her own experiences there. So now, as a 26-year-old me, like I start conversations with young adults or
Mm-hmm.
like millennials, if I want to say,
Yeah.
to try to like enlighten them and tell them like uh because you know I just because I don't feel like I have the right to speak on behalf of like slaves or descendants of slaves, because I don't know, I feel like it's inappropriate for me,
Mm-hmm.
but I want to speak about on behalf of immigrants,
Okay.
because so many parents, when they travel, they travel maybe because of hardship, or they leave their country, sorry, because of hardship. Maybe they leave their country because they want betterment of life, so they leave their countries with a bad concept or the bad idea. My father was left when the country was in war, okay,
Mm-hmm.
and there are so many of his colleagues too. So now what I'm seeing, like at this age, is so many like teenagers, so many youngsters having very, very, very bad ideas about Africa.
Africa. Yeah.
And yeah, wherever it is, it's not just like Ethiopia. Like I have so many African friends, so I tell them, "Do you know that country? Where did you get that idea from?" And it pisses me off when they call it garbage. I'm like, "Who gave you the right to call it garbage? Have you
Yeah.
seen it? Like, do you know the people there?" And they say illiterate. I tell them I am African. They're like, no, it's
Wow.
you're not African. Like, I tell them I graduated in Ethiopia. They're like, no, you're lying. Anyways,
Wow.
like
But see, I can basically tell from your tone, your voice
Mm.
that you're from Eastern Africa. I can just tell. I don't know why, but I can just tell that you're from Eastern Africa. I don't know, but I can just tell.
Yeah, Northeast Africa, from
Okay,
Ethiopia.
yeah, yeah, Northeast. I could just tell.
Yeah, but I can change my accent if you want.
No, you don't have to change it, but I can just
Yeah,
tell. Yeah.
yeah. So what I like, I don't know if there are any mothers or parents here with us in the show. I just want to say, like, I believe another sister have already said it, like we need to like educate the youngsters, especially more than the children, the youngsters, change their perspective. My own
Mm-hmm.
siblings, who are like 20 years old now,
Mm-hmm.
they had this very weird idea that like they swore not to go to Ethiopia, and
Wow.
they never wanted to leave. They said, I hate that place. I'm like, you never saw it, you're gonna go. So and I
And
have friends from yeah, and I had friends here, like, so I work as a business consultant. Like, I never really wanted to come back here, but I plan to go back to Ethiopia. Actually, my family is planning to return anyways. So the thing is, we need to educate the youth. I don't know, like form a youth alliance or something, and tell our history ourselves.
yeah,
Everywhere I see.
and one thing I don't mean to. One thing I also love about
Go ahead.
Ethiopia is they really uphold their culture and traditions really
Yes,
high. That's something I
yes,
really love because
yes.
despite we are in 2020, it's
Mm-hmm.
2013 in Ethiopia because never
Yes,
changed their calendar. You see what I'm saying? The women stick with
yes,
their hair, their culture. And one thing I
yes.
realized is their food is similar to because when I flew with Ethiopian Airlines, that was the first time
Mm-hmm.
I ate Ethiopian food, and I'm like, hold on, this
Oh,
really yeah, this food tastes like a Ghanaian food, and I just started
okay.
learning more about Ethiopia, and I'm like, oh wow, it's a beautiful place that I need to one day step my foot. That's why I was at the
Yeah.
airport. I need to really go and explore the country.
Yeah, and actually, I don't know. I don't want to like assume by myself, but we have like a really big number of Rastafarian repatriates in Ethiopia.
Hmm.
So we're like we support the idea of Africans coming back to Africa.
Okay.
Yeah, so there's a large number of Rastafarians in Ethiopia, and like a long time ago, our Emperor Haile Selassie, he opened the land open for he called in for Africans to return to Africa. So
Mm-hmm.
this plan has been out there from very long time ago, but these Americans, should I say, have been like brainwashing and now brain draining us Africans, if I might
Yeah,
say.
the system. This it's not just
Yeah,
it's the whole European
yeah.
the whole European had this
Mm-hmm.
whole setup to just make sure we are confused. They had to take away
Yeah,
our language, our culture. These days, even
yeah.
when you go to the African continent, you have parents who try to
Mm-hmm.
tell their children to speak English, and it just
I
get on
know,
my
all
nerves
right?
when I see it. See what
Yeah,
I'm
yeah,
saying?
yeah. Yeah, yeah. It's just like no, show your English skills. No, but like I always speak in my mother tongue. I speak two of Ethiopian languages. I
Uh,
already there are so many languages. I know a sister was saying there are so many dialects inside inside even one language. So
uh-huh,
I speak two of them, and I strive to learn more. So I'm happy to see like there are so many Africans trying to recognize where they come from. Like
uh-huh.
it's not gonna be easy, but I'm positive that's the right thing to do. That's the right thing to do. Go back. Like logically thinking, do you think an African in anywhere in Africa, whether it's uh, Benin or Kenya
Mhm,
or whatever, would
mhm,
want another fellow African as an investor or like a business partner with him or her, or a Chinese person? Because we know what China is doing right now.
mhm. Are you asking me a question?
No, I'm just giving a suggestion. Like many, because I speak with so many youths who are building startups and who are looking for
Okay,
investors. I'm in that field, so
okay.
they like. Uh, I think they would feel more comfortable with having a person who they would feel more comfortable with, like uh, another fellow black person. We look out for each other.
Right. I'll never do a business with a Chinese. One thing I had to really go through is
Mm-hmm.
the main reason why I started taking programming in college is because
Mm-hmm.
I had an idea. And I'm still working on it with a brother, and we had to really outsource that skill. It's about software building for a specific
Uh-huh.
project, and we had to outsource from China. We had to
Mm-hmm.
go that far to go outsource. But I said, you know what, we will. I'll go through school and learn this and work with a brother. If that's something I really don't want to do. I don't want to go outsource somebody else outside our race to do the job.
Yes, yes, definitely true. That was the right thing to do. Like do it ourselves.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But thank you
And
so
yeah,
much.
thank you so much for your time too.
All right. Take care.
You too.
Hi, Mary. How you doing? Hello.
Hello,
I'm
can you
sorry
hear me?
for yeah, I'm sorry for keeping you waiting for all this while, but thanks for waiting. Thanks for being patient.
Hi, I'm Marie. I'm from San Antonio, Texas, and
Okay.
I was calling in because I just saw your YouTube, and it
Oh,
was a
this is
couple of
your
days
first time
ago.
being on the channel?
Pardon me.
This is your first time being on the channel?
Um, this is my first time talking on the channel. I just
Oh, okay.
saw your I saw your YouTube about 3 days ago, and
Okay.
it was saying about how blacks shouldn't get immediate citizenship into the
Mm-hmm.
country. And I feel that the
Oh,
blacks
that was
here,
hold on. That was not the topic for today, but yeah, I'll let you
oh,
go
it's
ahead.
the topic. Well, the topic
Yeah.
today is was it again?
Oh, basically, we talked about what you talking about was a live we did yesterday, but today we were basically talk. I'll still let you go ahead and talk about
I know
that,
you're
but
you're talking about that the African Americans and the Africans don't get along with each other. Is that
no,
what
it's
you're
not. No, it's not. We don't get along. What I'm saying is, now we're trying to come together, right? We're trying to
Yeah.
build the unification. But
Hmm.
I think before we can actually achieve that, we have some personal resentment within us that we need to really talk about and also say, hey, you know what? I think I have to forgive if I feel this way because I cannot tell you how you should feel and how you shouldn't feel. You see what I'm saying?
Hmm.
You can only say, well, I feel this way about, my African brothers for maybe all these years they didn't reach out to us or their forefathers sold us. You can have
Hmm.
your own resentment and however you feel towards us. Therefore, you say, well, how can we talk about this and forgive ourselves? Basically, that's what we're talking about today.
Oh, okay. Well,
But you can
I'm
still
kind
touch on your topic
of in age.
about.
I'm not very young. I'm in between, and we in America, I didn't know anything about racism or anything until I turned like
your your
about
voice your voice keep going in and out. Your voice keep
oh,
going. Yeah.
okay. I didn't know anything about racism until I became 9 years old, and
Okay.
it was when the movie Roots came out. I don't. A lot of people probably know the movie Roots by Alex Haley. So it
Hmm.
came out that Alex Haley had copied Roots from a book, and
Hmm.
everything in that story wasn't true. And the Atlantic trade, that thing was actually in reverse. So then
Hmm.
I started researching, and I ran into Dan Conaway on YouTube, and he was explaining about how some African Americans are actually Native Americans. And so I know that my grandmother, her mother was a Native American. So I also learned that the ship that went over to Africa to pick up the Africans, that the
Hmm.
ships were made here in the United States. And so they took Indians and sold them for $5 to different countries. So if the actually Atlantic trade thing, it was in reverse. It was
Hmm.
not the way they taught us, the way we looked at it, because we wasn't taught any type of Black history or African history. Maybe just one chapter. And, so we were totally in the loss. So um, in San Antonio, it's a very diverse city. So
Hmm.
here it's mostly Spanish. It's about 5% blacks that live here, and most of the Spanish here, they're they're they on their applications they put that they're white. So there is a
Yeah.
short percentage of white people
Your
in the United
your vo- hold on. Your volume keep going in and out. We can barely
States.
hear you.
You hear me? Oh, I'm sorry. First,
Yeah.
this is my first. Can you hear me better?
Yes. Yes. Go ahead.
Okay. Yeah. The United States is more Spanish than
Hmm.
um, there's very few white Americans that live here in the United States. Most of the when they do the census,
Hmm.
people that come from Africa and
Hmm.
Mexico and different countries, they write down that they're white,
Mm.
and so as far as the jobs and stuff like that, it's discrimination where the Spanish are more discriminating than the white people are. So Um, I feel that I don't really trust the DNA thing because it's like how they said with the stuff that we're reading in books. People wrote those books, so I can't say if that stuff is accurate. So I really go on what. That's all I have to say.
Okay, thank you so much. Thank you so much for your
Uh-huh.
input. I really
Okay.
appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Oh, I have another question. Do you have
Uh,
a cash out? Do you have
yes,
cash out? Okay.
yes,
All right. Could you put it on the thing?
yes, I will. Thank you so much. I really
Okay.
appreciate that. Thank you
All
so
right.
much. Hi, brother. Thanks for coming back. Hello? Hello?
Hey, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you
Yeah,
now.
so I'm gonna make it real quick. I was trying to respond to I was trying to remember her name, but I think she called earlier and was pretty much saying something in the line of the fact that she cannot, as an African American, she cannot lay claim to things like tracing her lineage and all that. I was just gonna say something on that real quick and just get out of here.
Okay.
So basically, I wasn't, if she's listening, I wasn't trying to downplay um, the effect of what was done to our people here. I was
Hmm.
in, what I actually was trying to say, just so she gets it right, is it's of course it's a valuable I would say experience to be able to confidently say who your great grandfather is, as an African, as an immigrant. Nothing has messed with that on my side, and I totally understand where she's coming from. But
Hmm.
I was just gonna say something on that real quick, that Africa, right? Africa was made unappealing to our people over here, right?
Okay.
To the blacks, to our African American brothers. Africa was forever made unappealing to them. But guess
Hmm.
who never left Africa? The white man. He never left. So while they were telling them, "Hey, don't go to Africa. They'll eat you raw. They'll hunt you down, and this and that," they never left Africa. So it all falls back to the same ideology, right? Keep them
Hmm.
separated and conquer them, right? So whenever I say these things, I'm not trying to downplay her experience, or the experience of our brothers and sisters over here.
Hmm.
What can actually, since we're talking about moving forward, what can actually help? Like I said earlier, is education. We need to come together, right? Yes,
Hmm.
it's true. You do not know you don't even need to take the DNA test. Look,
Yes.
yeah, you don't even need to do it. You African. I mean, look at what is happening, and you don't need King Solomon, to come tell you that something is wrong. Something is actually
Hmm.
wrong. They are they are trying to put us in the dark, perpetual darkness. They're trying to make us feel inferior to who we really are. They're trying to change our belief system. They're working on our minds. So if you can, the look the biggest thing I'll say, a brother or sister can do for themselves is to take a trip to Africa,
Okay.
not as a tourist, but go there and as a spiritual visit, right?
Hmm.
Because I'm not gonna lie to you, what has kept me grounded in America is my background.
Okay.
No, look, I can work with them. I can do whatever I want to do with them, but it's not my background is unshakable. And whenever
Yeah.
we get into, even at work, whenever we get into conversations like this, it doesn't even last for long, because whenever they realize, well, this guy knows his history, They shut up
Mm-hmm.
and look for something else. You know,
Right.
so I think that's the mentality we need to, in our weakness, right, in our displacement, we need to start, you know, looking towards the brighter side. Regardless, yes, we've gone through all those things. Yes, we've been displaced. Yes, we've been marginalized. Yes, we've been experimented on. But guess what? We're still alive. You know, we're
Mm-hmm.
resilient people. Connect with Africa. I'm not saying it's all perfect over there. It's not. America isn't perfect. It's not even close. Africa is as bad. But guess what? No one is gonna hunt you down. The cops ain't gonna do that. You know, I don't run away from the cops. I've never done that. And
Mm-hmm.
the same respect I show to the cops back at home is what I do here. And I try to keep my distance, right, and do whatever they say when you get to Rome, you behave like the Romans, right? I'm in this
Right.
land, so I pay my dues to just like you said earlier, acquire my wealth and bounce. I
Yeah,
don't want to
bound.
be dodging bullet. I don't want to be
Yeah.
dodging bullet. My kids are not going to go through this madness. It's all they're working on our psychology. I'm not going to allow them experiment on my kids. It's never going to happen over my dead body. That will never happen. Whenever my kids comes home, glad I've got a very strong wife as well. She's black British, but whenever they come home, we try to teach them stuff. Whenever I'm off during the weekends, I sit with my kids and we go over stuff. But they can tell you everything about their granddaddy. They can tell you
Mm-hmm.
everything about their daddy's investment. If something happens to me today, my wife isn't gonna, wander around and try to figure out where my investments at. We gotta learn how to transfer this knowledge and
To
and
our
and
children.
skills, because yeah, it's important. And then also I was gonna say something real quick too. This is based off of what you had said
Mm-hmm.
about working with people that do not look like us. Look, we need to change. This is what I'm doing, and it's been working. I'm gonna tell you, it's a strategy that we must learn to do. I'm not in support of or every one of our people leaving this part of the world, because we got to be
Yeah.
around. They came to our ancestral land and stole our
So
people. So we should not isolate ourselves. We should stick around. Some of us have to stick around and continue to learn these people, because it's
mm,
important. I'll tell you this. I was working on a project, right? I'm working on the patent right now, and
okay.
to do my design, I had to
Mm-hmm.
call a few fabrication companies in China, right?
Mm-hmm.
You don't go give them your template, so to say. You work on business, because look, the Chinese man is in your village right now, trying to
Yeah.
trying to trying to look for gold, oil. So why should we isolate ourselves? Let's learn to go to their village and conquer as well, because
Right.
that's the way we can transfer. We can keep our people liberated. I'm telling you, it's about the economics. It's about money. So even though we Africans do it with love, and life is not completely about money in our case, but
Not
but we got to
it.
learn to think like the enemy. Don't
Right.
look. If you have to work with them, bro. Achieve what you have to achieve, and go take care of your people. That's what the Chinese are doing. They come to
Do.
Africa, make all that money and send it back to China. So why would we, take ourselves out of the picture? No, we got to stay competitive. It's very important.
Mm-hmm.
It's very important. Look, I tell you this, right? They so when like I was telling you about my experiences in America, it's been what, 15 years already. So
Mm-hmm.
when I came to this part of the world, right, with my kind of job, I only had white people around me, but
Mm-hmm.
I knew to 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 work with them. I learned how to work with them so we can all get along. I didn't want to be looked at like the guy that's anti-social, right? You have to, even though I resented I didn't like most of the way of doing things. I had to work with them, and by so doing, I was able to get a lot of things done. Right? Sometimes you got to play stupid, but when
Yeah.
it comes, yeah, you got to play stupid. So there's nothing wrong with doing that. I'm not saying you trade yourself for whatever, but you learn how to build certain skills. You learn how to think like them, and then you take all that experience, because that's exactly what the African American community have done over the years from living with these people. And that's why they can look at Africa and say, hey, you shouldn't be worshiping white Jesus. So we need that
Right.
experience as well. Yeah, we need, it's an awakening. We need to do stuff with them, take that experience and go build our defenses. You see what I'm saying? So
Right.
it's not time to shy away or to shut the doors. It's time to open it up and learn how they think, because to beat the enemy, you got to think like the enemy.
Definitely. Right. Right.
So
Yeah.
yeah, just to my sister that called earlier, look, no, I wasn't trying to minimize your experience, but in that displacement there is strength. And the key is Africa. The key is Africa. Let's go back to history, right? In 1884, remember the Berlin Conference, right? Right? These people in Europe, took Africa and divided and pretty much split Africa amongst themselves. And Ghana today and Nigerians don't get along on so many levels. Well, that's because they've put an artificial border between those two countries, right, and make them think they're different. So it's all about so that way, whenever they're stealing Ghana's gold, there will be no communication between Ghana and Nigeria. They can also steal Nigerians Nigeria's oil. Yeah, I'll give you that because I'm in the oil and gas. In 1956 or something, that was when they told Nigeria they discovered oil in a city, in a town called Oloibri. These guys have been exploiting oil reserve 20 years before it was made public. Shell was doing it. They before whenever we got our independence in 1960, right? When Nigeria got her independence in 1960, well, they were sure to make to place people, corrupt people, because they've already, they'll give them deals, shady deals, and then once they do it, they've committed, right? They were sure to get all those corrupt people in high places. So that way they're like tax collectors, kind of like what they did to our ancestors, right? Took people from our people and then go train them to become tax collectors among us. So that's why they've continued to keep Africa. So yes, Africa, it's been, most of the countries in Africa, are run by black people, but these people are sellouts. Majority of them, they're sellouts. They'll make some peanuts and then sell their people. And it's as bad as having a white man run the country. It's as bad because they're so stupid. They will take all that money and then create safe havens for them. They will take our money to Europe and dump it in the banks. Look at what's 20-something years after Abacha died, the former president of Nigeria. They're still finding left what's left of his loots in Europe and all over the world. It's crazy. Exactly. So we need to think like this, people, man. Daniel, I'm sorry to take your time, but just let the sister know. I hope she's listening. I wasn't trying to minimize her experience or anything, but at the same time, I believe it's not a lost cause. There's light at the end of the tunnel. We need to start educating ourselves, and what she doesn't have, I can, as a brother that cares about my people, I can pretty much connect her to the roots. I can tell her, hey, look, we come from a land of kings and queens. This is not fairy tales. This is reality. And she needs to understand that we're very proud people, and that's why a lot of people hate Nigerians. Yes, they're loud, but what is there to not be proud of when you're an African? That's the way I look at it. I'm as humble as anything, but when it comes to suppressing my culture, man, I gotta be really loud. I don't care what people say, because I know where I'm from. You gotta be proud of that, because it's no different from what the Americans do. They just want to lock you in and make you feel inferior. So shout out, yell and let them know you're proud. You know where you from. So yeah, that's it, Daniel. Thank you very much. Sorry for
Thank-
taking your time.
No, no. I mean, I appreciate your input. Thanks for coming back again. Thank you so much.
Yes, sir. Bye.
Bye. Hi, Isaac. I'm sorry, sir. I kept you being here. How you doing? Hello, hello, Isaac. Hello, Isaac.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes, sir. I can hear you. I'm sorry I kept you waiting, but thanks for joining in.
It's okay, no problem, sir. I'm glad to be here.
Yes, sir. So I know you already know what we're talking about, right?
Yes, sir, I do. I sure do. And I want to start off by saying that I
Mhm.
appreciate your effort in this, and it's so amazing, man. I'm
Mhm.
watching you, and I want to applaud, man, the efforts that you're doing for us as a people in whole, brother.
Thank you so much for that feedback. Yeah, it's just you just gotta have love for the whole thing, else you will give up. Trust me. The challenges is crazy, but trust me, we will get there. It's for our own good, and I believe it's a righteous cause. So why not? Because
That's
the
right.
only place, if anything happens, I can say I'm going back is to the African continent. So why not? If we get messed up so much, trust me, we can go anywhere.
Exactly. You're so right, man. Hey, we can do anything as a people, brother, together. That's the point, man. Together. You know,
Hmm.
we all know, that everybody been through struggles in life, and every country is different than the other. And me on this side of the water in America, we've been through a lot, man, and we got struggles too, just like, people, in Africa got struggles as well, and and I know that, man, we can find a way, man, to be as one people at the end
People,
of the day.
yeah. Yeah, despite our differences, even within our own family members, sometimes we quarrel, sometimes we have disagreement. I think it's part of our existence as humans, but that as long as we more focus on the bigger picture, that we come first, we have to take care of one another first. That's all what matters. That's the main thing we gotta do. That's all.
Exactly. Exactly,
Yeah.
man. And just like I stand, I have a lovely family, and I would love to pick them up, man, and move to the African continent, And but I gotta know at the end of the day, as a father, am I bringing them into harm's way, or are they going to be all right? And I would want to believe us moving to Africa would be something better for them, and I'm praying on that, man, that one day, I do make that trip, because I know that living in America is probably not, where I'm from. You can look at my picture and see that, right?
Yeah,
You know,
you can just
but
tell.
yeah, hey, but can I tell you? Can I tell you as a person, man? What country in Africa I was from? I can't, man, because I wasn't part of that process to get me here in America, right?
Right.
And a lot of African Americans, man, feel like that. We don't know exactly where we from unless we
Hmm.
do the DNA test. But who's to say you can really trust that, right?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's all based on data and all this stuff. I can always say, well, it might not be accurate, just like you're saying. It might not be, but trust me, this is what I always say. Even as a Ghanaian, right? I used to limit myself, but as time goes on, what you're learning and you studying, you realize we are Ghanaians because uh, uh, Europeans said so. We are Nigerians because of. I'm sorry, my camera just went off, but we
No,
are
you're right. You're right, bro. Because of the borders that was built. You're right,
built
man.
right. So I always feel like, you know what, I need to one day, I'm trying. I have land in Ghana, but what I want to do is go buy land in Tanzania, another African country, and have a community there as well because I want to get my mind off the fact that I'm a Ghanaian instead of I'm just an African. You see what I'm saying? I just want to be in that state instead of just
Yeah.
Ghanaian, Nigerian, Ethiopian. I don't want to limit myself to, yeah, I could be from the Asante tribe, but I just want to be an African. So even though you cannot really trace or get a specific tribe, I would suggest you don't let that really stop you from making, maybe that move. Just see yourself as, what, wherever I get connected to, I'll move to, but I don't want to limit myself to whether I'm a Nigerian or a Ghanaian. That's how, I want my mind to be. And you can take your family for a year, stay there in any African country you feel, you're more connected to. You can do analysis, how the economy and everything based on what you want to do. Move for a year. You can always give your family the experience, the 1 year experience, because trust me, life is just short as once, and you have to try the things you feel that you need to before you leave this planet. Give your children the chance to experience that, your family. And if they say, hey, Dad, we like it, I think we can continue being here, then you know what, you find a way of sustaining you and your family for a long period of time. But just give your family that experience.
Exactly, man. I appreciate, man, the good advice and everything. And man, I just want to have everybody speak on here. And hey, thanks for putting me on here, brother, man. And more power to you, man. This is
I
good
appreciate you
vibes right
calling
here, man.
in.
It's very uplifting. Just keep it
Thank
up,
you so
man.
much.
And I love you, bro. Even though I ain't never met you, man, I love you, man. And I love everybody on here that's fighting for the right cause, man. We
Thank you
with
so
you
much.
here.
Thank you.
We with you here, bro. Just like you there in Africa, man. Y'all have a good day.
All right, stay blessed.
You too, brother.
All right, bye-bye. Hi, sir.
I
Hello.
guess yeah, I'm back again. I actually kind of
Yeah.
just wanted to thank you again. Just listening to other callers again, and I realized that this is definitely a very positive channel, and I ended up donating to the channel as well.
Thank you so
Um,
much.
and so just in response to the first lady that actually called after our brother from Benin called the first time,
Mm-hmm.
um, is that yeah, definitely. Um, Africans and also Africans in the diaspora specifically, I would
Mm-hmm.
say African Americans, yeah, we definitely both have different experiences, and then also the effect of colonialism and also enslavement of our people here in America. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
that process in itself of kidnapping our people um, and take them to the Americas was very, 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 very a dangerous journey. And some of our people lost their lives, and some of them were sick during the journey, and they were you know, uh, dropped or uh, throw him over the boat to have the sharks eat him. And it was actually a story when during the journey, the sharks used to follow the boats,
Oh.
so that they can actually eat our African brothers and sisters, our ancestors. So yes, um, our experiences are unique. And actually, if you think about it, African Americans and also the Africans in the diaspora, especially, of course, African Americans, Africans in the Caribbeans, African in Brazil, they are the most resilient African people in the world.
Mm-hmm.
With
Mm-hmm.
what they had to go through, I mean, it's amazing. I mean, it's crazy. I mean, with all this history that I had to learn about my people, it got me very, very bitter and angry. If you're truly a Pan Africanist coming from Africa, you will be hurt and like angry.
Yeah.
Really, what happened to our people? Angry. I mean, I had to read about what really happened to a lot of African Americans in the South, where they used to take their babies out within what I would say is our babies, and use
Yeah.
them as uh, as bait
for
alligators.
alligator. Yeah, I read that history as well. It's trust me, it's
So
it's
right
really
now,
sensitive.
yeah. Um, so right now, what I would say is that yes, we definitely need to recognize that for sure, and through education and actually understanding, um, both side of the fence.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, colonialism did a number on us to the point where we become very docile and
Mm-hmm.
like complacent.
Mm-hmm.
Uh,
And not just that, I don't mean to cut you off. Not just that, our our African culture, one way or the other, also makes us relax, so calm. We invite people without even questioning them. It's like when you pay attention to the way our culture is set up, we just so hospitable. We love people. It's just they took advantage of our kindness in so many ways. They
yeah.
studied us. They it's just
Well, and you
yeah.
know what that is. Um, there's a word called in the Central African region. It's called
Mhm.
Muntu, right?
Yeah.
Muntu is pretty much called the first human,
Hmm.
right? And they usually called even in South Africa they have this term called Ubuntu, whatever it is, the humankind, meaning
Hmm.
like the human way of doing things, right? And that's why you will see in Africa a lot of the times when a visitor comes to your
Hmm.
house, you literally have to like drop everything and cater to that visitor.
Yeah.
You get what I'm
We,
saying? So that's the
yeah.
human thing of doing things, a human way of doing things, right? So
Hmm.
by having that within our DNA, we literally thought people outside of the African continent literally move the same way that we do move, and
Hmm.
which that was actually a hindrance to ourselves as well, to us, because they came in and be like, oh my God, these people can just do this for us.
Hmm.
Oh, well, we just go ahead and gonna take advantage of whatever we can.
Right.
That's pretty much, and that's pretty much what happened. So what I was trying to say is that real quick, one thing that we need to focus on as African people all over the world. Yes,
Hmm.
we know, we definitely need to recognize that we have differences, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
And there are there, and we need to acknowledge them. And we need to acknowledge that there are people that are actually faced like gruesome, um, hardship more than we did in Africa. We actually have our land there to escape into the forest and things like that if things got hard. They
Hmm.
didn't. You get what I'm saying? So what I'm saying
Yeah.
is that after we go through all of this, and figuring out and coming to talks with our brothers and sisters, so the next
Hmm.
things we need to do is focus on the vertical, not the horizontal. Meaning,
Hmm.
I'm quoting Dr. Henderson right here. He
Hmm.
said, as African people or Black people, we need to focus on the vertical, meaning economics, right?
Hmm.
Our race that will just bring us together, not our differences as far as like religion,
Yep.
uh, where we come from, tribalism, and all of that. We need to focus on economics, agriculture, military
Okay.
science. Those are the things that are actually going to move us forward
Okay.
as a people. Meaning,
Okay.
economics is to actually share what we both can produce in Africa or here in the America as Black people.
Okay.
That's pretty much what what would I have to say.
Thank you
And
so
thank
much.
you.
I really appreciate your input and coming back again. Thank you so much. Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much. All
Mhm.
right. Stay blessed, brother.
Bye.
Yes, sir. How you doing?
Hey, how you doing, brother?
I'm good. I'm good. Thank you so much for the
Yeah,
support.
sure, no problem. Um, I want to let me just start out just by saying thank you for having this type of platform to be able to have this dialogue between many folks in the diaspora and many folks from the continent. And we do have a lot of, I'm not going to say competing struggles, but we both have a struggle that is unknown to both sides. So I don't really want to belabor the point when we're talking about, things that we have to deal with as foundational Black Americans. But one thing that really needs to be stressed is generationally, we may have a lot of psychological harm that we may have had to endure. And whenever you happen to see, like if you've ever dealt with trauma, if you happen to see anything in front of you or something triggers you, you're not going to have a very docile approach. If I see a child that is crossing the street, and let's say I may have been hit by a vehicle, or I know someone that has been hit by a vehicle, it's not going to be a, hey, please, you might not want to go across the street. It's going to come with tenacity. It may come with what may appear as anger. But to see someone that looks like me, that is going into, engaging with different cultures, when we're talking about Chinese or Lebanese or Europeans, we have seen this game repeatedly. We have had people who have died behind this. So I will say that with foundational Black Americans, as compared to other groups that are in the diaspora, the extent sometimes of racism may slightly differ just a little bit. What may, if they're talking about police violence and things like that, maybe in the UK toward Black folks, yes, it's reprehensible. But when we're talking with violence in foundational Black America, we're talking, I mean, people are getting murdered. I have many friends from Britain who say, wow, we didn't know, we experienced violence out here from police, but we didn't know it was to that extent. Right. So we tend to, even with the forums and things like this, we tend to always have like this kind of clash about whose plight was the worst. Right. And the thing is, at the end of the day, we are all African, whether someone wants to accept that or not. I really don't give a damn. I know that I am an African man. I don't speak any other African dialect. I speak English, but guess what? At the end of the day, I'm still an African man. So I don't compete for the acceptance that I need to be accepted. That's something, we all have the same common ancestor. Maybe one didn't go to the beach that day and the rest of them ended up coming to, all over the diaspora. But, but I will say as a proud person that was born here, maybe against my own will, I can actually say that no one is more, let me not say no one else. I'm going to say that Black Americans have a very profound love for everyone on that continent of Africa. When we come back, and I'm repatriating back to Ghana, in Gambia in about 2 months.
Okay.
And my mindset arriving is, I don't profess to be an expert in everything. Just because something happened in the West does not mean that we are the implied standard of normalcy. I want to be able to show up to say, look, these are things that I've seen. These are the skills that I may have. I want to be able to work with you. I want to be able to help make our culture greater, be able to help build infrastructure, just to be able to do it together. In exchange, you can show me different ways, different customs, things that I may have never known. So I can bring, yes, sir, go ahead.
Now, what you just said, right? I wanted to read something to what you just said, because we were talking about automatic citizenship, yesterday. And I think an European who is a businessman in the Gambia made a comment this morning on the post, and this is what he said. I just want, because you just said something about, you are not an expert and you're not going there to basically act like you know everything. You're about to offer an ultimate solution. So basically, I just wanted to read it because I want you to respond to that. And I'm not making it this up. This is, I screenshot the comment,
Okay.
So this is what he said. He said, this is what he thinks about automatic citizenship for African diaspora as a white man in the Gambia doing business. He said, Absolutely not should automatic citizenship be granted to anyone. Those would be kings who arrive and present with the most money. The color of their skin will always be second to the color of their money. African Americans are already attempting to build their own part of Africa that will exclude the people who are born in the Gambia, Ghana, etc. Look at the bag. He mentioned the Black Acres of the Gambia. Simple. Come live here. Don't assimilate. Don't get involved with the Gambian people. Come live on my land. And Akon, come live in my golden city. F the locals. We can employ them as cleaners and drivers. Look at what's happening, people. I'm a white man who can never be accused of being a colonizer, as Mr. Rick, because I have respect for the Gambian people. So basically, his take is these people are creating gentrification. In other words, this he's saying African diaspora, and I'm just reading it because you just said that in your way. That's why I'm saying it.
Okay. To sort of go back on a part that kind of stuck out, he brought up the Bag family.
And Akon.
Yeah, and Akon. Now, keep in mind, if someone goes to an unknown place, like for example, if I were to go to the Gambia, I might not know specific traditions. I may not know specific customs. I may not know how to speak, Mandinka or Wolof. If I happen to meet other repats that came from the U.S., guess what? At least we can say, okay, well, this is what we don't do here. This is what I have learned thus far. So it's not wrong or uncommon not to be with a group of people when you initially get there. Because that's the same thing that happens here in the U.S. They have like this kind of pseudo beef when you have someone that may come from any part of Africa. They tend to stick in their own group. Well,
yeah.
I mean, naturally that's going to happen. You're going to go where someone is more fluid, maybe in the culture and things like that.
Language, understand everything.
Yeah, correct. And like, let's say when I want to do business and I want to buy land and things like that, we're always taught on the West, oh, don't go over to Africa. They're going to scam you. Well, I mean, hell, we have scammers here. However, if there is someone from maybe the US, it doesn't matter what state, let's say if they're selling land or something like that, I'm going to probably, kind of learn just a little bit more from that person, because I would feel that we all are subject to being vulnerable, for being, perhaps scammed. And I'm not saying that every single thing is, but I'm just trying to say that when we, you tend to stick with what you know while you're trying to learn about the different culture. And so it's nothing wrong with that. And people try to kind of capitalize on that argument to say, hey, see, this is the divisiveness right here. Yeah, that, it's only natural for me to go where I'm a lot more comfortable, where I can express myself and someone understands where I'm coming from. Right.
Yeah, and I think where he was pitching it, he was trying to make it sound like, but that's what every group does. Even when you go to most of the hotels owned by Europeans in African countries, Europeans patronize European-owned hotels. They are selective. They are selective.
And think about this. Here in America, there's a certain way that we conduct business. There's a certain way we do customer service. If that's what I'm looking for, then that's who I'm going to do business with right off the bat. Here in America, we're protected by so many different laws to where if someone is going to do something to scam you, they better be pretty damn good, because it's a lot of penalties that follow. So we have a certain standard of conducting business, so that's the mindset that we have when we get there, because we can't think that every other place that we go to has that same standard of customer service and things like that. So.
And trust me, let me make this clear as well. Most of the stuff, I sometimes really don't watch other YouTubers because I don't want my mind to really get like, into what's going on and just, get emotional and make content about that. But I know most of the things most African diaspora who moved to the African continent say is basically the truth. Despite our people might not be comfortable, hearing it from them is basically the truth. I have done business with most of my own people and they were not reliable, and I'm the type of person,
Correct.
if you tell me Monday, if I tell you I'll pay you on
Correct.
Wednesday, I make sure I pay you on Tuesday evening. You see what I'm saying?
Correct.
And I've worked with my own people and, they didn't provide the services like they told me they would. And I got upset. I had to really, cast them out and do all that stuff. So if you the type of person strategic, you so focus on your business and you want your yes to be yes, no to be no. When you go to the African continent, you find a lot of us are laid back over there who think, they can slow pace and do stuff, so you face these type of challenges. And if you call them out, you have people who say, well, you too arrogant and all that stuff. But when it comes to
Correct.
business, we have to play our part. So I watch some of, the diaspora channels and everything they say, whether it's too harsh, blah, blah, but it needs to be fixed, Yeah.
Correct. And those are things that won't change overnight. I don't know if any I've noticed it from looking at other YouTube channels. If you ever noticed, for us diasporans, you have some that may be from the UK, and a lot of their resources and different things that they're trying to do, although it can be open to anyone in the diaspora, they tend to stick together. So folks from the UK diaspora who are repatriated back to Gambia, they have their section, and with American diasporans, we tend to stick over there, with American diasporans that are returning to maybe Gambia or Ghana and things like that. It's just that it's that level of familiarity and comfort. You want to be able to hold on to some of that, especially when you're entering into a land that you have never been to. And I will say also with foundational Black Americans, we're talking about a half a millennia, maybe even longer, of being taken advantage by everyone. And then it's more disheartening to go home and you still may have people that want to take advantage of you as well. Truly, there is no place to go. So it's no wonder why maybe many of us may tend to stick together when we get over there. It's kind of like it's kind of like this trauma bond, we've all been through something, and although we go through horrible situations, we may find it like the lesser evil just to go ahead and stick together, and just kind of go through it alone.
But what I also say is when you eventually, or if you experience these things on the African continent, don't really make it seem like that's how everybody is. It's an individual situation, because trust me,
Absolutely.
I used to export African products, right? And to people in the diaspora. And one time I shipped a whole product from Ghana to a sister in Texas, and she never paid me. She received the package, never paid me. But I have done so many good businesses with other African diaspora that really didn't, made me think that's how every African diaspora is. You know what I'm saying?
Correct.
So,
Correct.
it happens in business.
And that's one thing that I want to I'm always trying to be mindful of, and that's something, with my wife and my mother, when we repatriate or when we return to the Gambia, that the way that we conduct ourselves, it's being watched by everyone, because I never want to do anything wrong or accidentally that might come off as disrespect to where they would say, oh, all Americans are like that. And at least through my conduct and the way that we do business and the way that we interact with people, at least you can change some minds and some perceptions about how people from the West are. Not everyone is rich. If I were to sit you down and tell you, just with the average job, even with a college degree, I got 2 of them, that it is still very difficult to be able to live and breathe. But when you can go to a land where you see nothing but a sea of ebony people, and the majority of businesses that you patronize are going to be by someone that looks like you, in an environment that is just very, that has the stress-free almost type of atmosphere. Those are things that people from here in the in the diaspora are dying to have, because we have never really had anything to call our own. You go any place around the world, you can't really show me one place where it's dominated by melanated people, that they're the ruling class there.
Yeah.
That they're in charge. No matter where you go on this planet, you will always see reprehensible treatment against Africans, no matter where you go. We've never been on top. So then when we get there, don't treat me like the colonizer. I think it's, how can I come back to colonize or recolonize? I'm an African. If I was kidnapped, I didn't go there by choice. If I was kidnapped and let's say law enforcement or the police recover me, do you now deny me to come back home? And although it's been a long time, people think, oh, well, they can come back anytime. I don't think really, with this whole influx of people wanting to repatriate, I think the false concern is, okay, well, we're going to start, we don't want to get all the criminals and the thugs. Well, it's a lot different than how it was when the United States was, founded by their forefathers, because Europe didn't send their very best. They sent their drunkards, the people that were jailed, because they didn't even know if they were going to survive, being shipped across. So they said, yeah, go ahead and send all those people over. The difference is when we have people that come from Africa, they can come from Nigeria, they can come from Ethiopia, all the different places. A lot of times when they come to school, they're sending their very best. Okay. And that would be the same thing here in the US. It's very expensive to get over to Africa to be able to, although the cost of living may be a lot cheaper, just the initial things that you may have to give up here just to even get over there. I can rest assured you won't be getting any imbeciles. You might have some people that might be ignorant to a few things, but rest assured, in reciprocity, I believe that you're getting the very best, the people that should be there. And in this journey, not everybody's going to come, and not everybody should come, in my opinion. And I won't lie to you. Because there are some people who think that one day as Africans in America that they're going to be a part of the dominant society. That's why people do backbiting. That's why people be sitting up, cooning and stuff like that, because it's this false hope that if I do this against my own brother or my sister, this is going to push me more closer and I'm going to be more favored. That's a slave mentality. Okay? Because at the end of the day, guess what? You're still African and you're going to get cut like everybody else. Okay?
There's no way. Okay. I always say this, there's no way the system was built without inclusion in the first place. So when a system was built from the scratch without including a specific group of people, there's no way the system will end including the people. It's not possible. If you pay attention, when Obama came into power, a lot of people on the African continent were saying, oh, we have a black president in power. They were pushing that agenda, this now we can dominate America, we can do this. What was the result? You see what I'm saying? So I always say the only place we have is the continent. If you don't protect it, we don't do our best, if we don't save something for our children and we lose it too, we're doomed.
Correct. One of my favorite life quotes that I live by, it's not mine, it belongs to Deepak Chopra. But he said, the things we fear the most have already happened to us. And I'm speaking specifically to us as Africans all over the world. We fear that, someone might take advantage of us. We fear that someone might be harmed. We fear that we're going to suffer a great loss if we let someone in. Haven't all those things already happened to us as people in the diaspora? When we return back to Africa, we're letting people know, hey, we see what's happening, and we understand that for most nations, they've been out of colonization for 60 years. We've been out probably a lot longer. We have seen every single trick that that the masses have tried to play on us, and many of us may still fall for it. But if I've seen the movie and I have read the book, please believe me when I tell you what it's all about. Okay, it's just the same soup, it's just reheated. It's the same thing.
Exactly. And the reason why, the reason why most African people on the continent might not, like, for example, some people will say, well, you too interracial stuff, it's not about white and black issues, especially when you try to, bring the narrative and say, hey, don't do this stuff. They don't get that concept simply because they really don't understand. They really don't know the history. They have no idea about, Europeans and the effect of colonization. Most Africans on the continent barely know, the effect of colonization. So these talks is really difficult.
Correct. I mean, I have never been in a abusive relationship or a domestic violence situation, but rest assured, but rest assured that there are different things that there are different things that may trigger someone that someone else may not understand. Some people will say, well, why don't they just, if they don't like the situation, why don't they just get out of it? Okay, but it doesn't, it doesn't work that way. When you're talking about compounded and systematic trauma, it's not just a snap of the fingers. Privilege will allow you to think that someone has the means to be able to just get out of a situation. And for many of us in the diaspora, it strikes me as kind of I'm just really curious, because a lot of times with my brothers and sisters from Africa, they think that the streets are paved with gold, and when they come over here, the common thing is, oh, well, you got Black Americans over there, all they're doing is just rapping and talking about money and drugs and stuff, and they're sagging their pants, and they have all these free opportunities to go to school, and then when we come over here, we do all those things. That's what the perception is. But if
that's
you
what
ever,
the media shows.
yeah, and that's what the media shows. But if you can fully grasp and understand, and that would be a topic for a completely different day. The things when you may have maybe like a broken family, and you have lack of opportunities, and you have racist everything, you'll see how it is almost impossible for some people to how it's impossible for some people maybe to achieve certain things. And many people love to say, well, you have this basketball player, we have this rapper over here. That is a very small, minute, and they do not represent the majority. Okay. And remember, they're in those positions because probably somebody white put them in those positions. If you are if you are a multimillionaire rapper, guess what? You know who's more powerful than you are? The people that can afford to pay you $300 million to be that rapper. Okay. So, I don't like the comparison of, well, you see, this person was able to do this and that. That is not representative of the majority of us. When you look at the buying power of Black Americans, all it takes is about maybe 40 white males who are wealthy. That pretty much represents, the 42 million people here in the US, Black people, when we're talking about buying power and things like that. So, it's a lot of different layers that people need to understand where it is that we're coming from. But there should be not a fight to try to get what we have over here, because if we're trying to leave and we're walking away, I left a career. I worked in law enforcement for 14 years until I up and decided a few months ago that, what? No, I can't serve two masters, right? You have policy, and then you have humanity. And whenever you can't do both, especially in a job in law enforcement. So, once I had to heed the ancestors' call, it was like, what, I'm willing to walk away from all of this. Maybe someone over in Africa may say, what, why would you walk away from that? We're trying to get what you have. And I should be living proof, and many of us should be living proof that whatever it is you're trying to get, we don't want, and it's for a specific reason. Because as soon as you get to the United States, you are a Negro. Okay. They don't care what part of Africa you're from. All they see is your complexion. That's all they see. Okay. Police put the cuffs on you. You can't say, no, I'm from Senegal, or I'm from Eritrea. Yeah. Or I'm from Morocco. Nobody care about that. Well, if you're from Morocco, I mean, you may have a different look. I don't know. But, I mean, I'm really honored again just to be able to engage and just have this dialogue. A few years ago, I don't even think it would have been a platform like this. It would have been, people hiding behind the keyboard and, making little comments. And let me just say one last thing before I go.
Okay.
For everybody that's logging in, when you're on Brother Daniel's channel, we don't need to talk about what any other YouTubers and things are
Yes.
doing. That has nothing to do with the price of weed in Compton. Okay.
Mhm.
This is his platform. And what happens is you may have a troll that may go in and they may put a comment that's going to create some division, and they'll have you talking about other YouTubers and everything. And although we have many strong African YouTubers that talk about many different things, each of them have their different style. Each of them have a different niche. Each of them have a different approach. But for the most part, it is the truth. It really depends on what it is that you feel like ingesting.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
But,
And people
go
try
ahead.
to tell me, you see what this YouTuber is saying, talk about it.
Yeah.
I mean, that's not my cause to talk about
Yeah.
other YouTubers. I always, stay
Yeah.
on what I want to say, and that's it.
Yeah, it's
You
like
know.
being at work. I mean, I don't need to know about everybody else's business. I have a job at hand, and all it does, and what I have noticed by being on your channel and everything, and occasionally moderating on your channel, whenever someone introduces something controversial and you start having these, chats going back and forth and people disagreeing, your stream works
Mhm.
fine. Your stream works wonderful. It works fine. But then your stream gets disrupted for some reason when people are starting to talk about unifying things and, the black dollars in the black community. That's when it starts getting choppy. That's when you gotta, you start freezing on your screen, you
Yeah.
know. So I don't know if people actually ever pick up on that. So the controversial portion, whoever is over all this YouTube stuff, whenever you're talking about stuff that's controversial and divisive, these streams, they work wonderful. But when you start spitting the truth and when you
Mhm.
start talking about things where people are getting on code and stuff, that's when the
Then,
screen is freezing up.
yeah.
That's when you say, hey, just sit tight. I have to get this system back up working and stuff. So be
Yeah.
mindful of that, because colonizers watch this program too. Don't think that they're not.
Yeah.
They
Yeah,
own the site.
because when that European made that comment, I'm like, oh wow, I didn't know they be watching. That's how I realized. Okay,
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
yeah, they be watching.
Yeah, people are starting to get wise. When you have an influx of these type of discussions, and this platform is actually being used. So
Hmm.
then they're starting to say, okay, all these Africans trying to go back to Africa, let's go ahead and figure out about that. You know, so you know, um, it is what it is. But I want to thank you, brother,
And thank you
and
so much. I
yeah,
mean, you
yeah,
you one of my biggest supporters on this channel. I really appreciate, all the support you've been giving on this platform. Is just
no
amazing. Thank you
problem.
so much.
No problem, brother. You be safe and continue your chats, brother. I'm not gonna hog it from everybody else, but thank you
Yeah.
again, brother.
All
All
right.
right.
Stay blessed.
Yes, sir.
Yes, B2B. I'm sorry. You will be the last caller. I'm sorry. Thank you so much for waiting.
Okay, it's just a quick comment that I wanted to say, which I
Okay.
think is really important, is that it's lovely to see that the black men are really vocal about this. And I'm speaking, obviously as a black woman, and this whole division. I just want to raise how there's been in the past a division between black men and black women,
Hmm.
and how hearing the men that have spoken today. So I just want to, say how proud I am of the black men, for you yourself for having this platform, and for the black men that have called in and are seeing this future vision. Because for black women, it gives us back that sense of safety that I think that
Hmm.
we have lost. And so it's just a quick comment. I just wanted to thank all the black men as well who are taking
Uh,
this movement forward, and may you continue. So thank
thank
you
you.
for that.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Growing up in Africa, they always told us, European women are so beautiful. and they put this type of image in our mind, and I'm so happy I got to a point where I gotta really realize, that we got really fooled out. We had these beautiful women out here that it's just crazy. But thank you for this. Thank you so much.
Yeah, you're welcome. Take care.
Thank,
Bye-bye.
thank you. All right, you too. All right. Who want to be our last caller? Oh, if you wanted to support on Cash App, you can do so. The Cash App name is Amandani Tours Africa. But who want to be our last caller? You can call in and be our last caller, and we end it for today. That's the Cash App. You can do Cash App if you want to. But I really appreciate everyone for being here, spending the time and everything. It's just crazy that this channel is really moving forward, and we are really expressing our thought, our mind, we sharing. This energy right here is amazing. Trust me, this energy right here is amazing. If we can keep this energy going, if other YouTubers, other platforms really accommodate this type of streams, because I really don't care if people start doing the same thing, it will push the movement, it will bring us together faster. And trust me, um, currently I'm here in Ohio, if you don't know, and I'll be going back to Ghana in April. And me back in Ghana, I'll basically do a video where I really want to talk to a lot of people, local people, the African market people, our mothers, fathers, and I really want to ask them, what do they really know about African diaspora? I think through that, we will create a lot of educative platform and medium for them to really open their mind up and even get to find out, get those information. So this is something I really wanted to do, go out there and talk to our mothers, fathers, and ask them, what do they really know even about the transatlantic slave trade? Most people have no idea about, and I think we need to start from that aspect as well, from the continent, so we can all be sensitive, we can all know our history, we can all be on the same page, so that when one person is talking, it doesn't sound so strange to another person. So that's something I really um plan on doing. I'll really go ahead. Yes, I'm in Cleveland. Yes, that's what I'll basically try and do soon as I get done. And I'll start with my mom first. So you see my mom, she basically have no idea as well. And that's crazy. I'll start with my mom first. And I'll say, hey mom, do you know we have brothers and sisters from the US? She'll be like, huh? Really? How is that possible? But this is what I wanted to do, start from the basics, the market women. This will create a lot of platforms for us to learn more about each other, and this is just the beginning. And I think the movement is going to happen. The unification, I don't care how long it would take, but as long as we are investing on the continent, we try to take a gradual tortoise, a snail step, we'll get there. We don't have to, give up. We don't have to give up. Like I always say, I don't care how much money I make, everything is going back to investing on the African continent. Everything, everything. I don't want to get caught up in the metrics, right here. As soon as I'm done with my education, I'm out. I always tell my mom I will not be here as soon as I'm done with my education. There's so many opportunities on there that I think sometimes it makes me feel like I'm wasting my time, but also I feel like I need to finish what I'm learning so I can implement the skills that I really get, from here over there. So it's really important to me that as soon as I'm done with school, I'll eventually have to go back and, start everything that I'm doing. But, investment is key. Make sure you try your best and invest on the African continent. Don't let anything scare you. Fear is a disease. It's just a byproduct of what is in your mind. It's nothing real. It's just go out there. If you have money in the bank, it's useless until it's being used. Invest $2,000, you can get a loan. $3,000, you can get a loan. Don't complain about what Chinese people are doing so much. Just say, hey, I'm gonna take a step. I'm gonna do this. If these Europeans are going out there to do this, I can do it as well. And I would not let nothing stop me. I'll make sure I go there, invest, and trust me, you will never be disappointed. Just get that experience, go invest. Just do it. Just do it. There, that's the cash app on there. Those asking for the cash app. Uh, uh yeah, those asking for the cash app. So it is really important. I really love the aspect. There are so many opportunities on the African continent. When you go there, any problem that you see, you can find a solution to it, and it becomes a business. I'm working with one African diaspora brother. We're working on a project. It's a programming software that we're trying to implement in Ghana, and gradually it's moving forward. We're trying. That's the main reason why I'm also going to school for programming. So we can do something. We can do something. We shouldn't give up. Yes, it's a dollar sign in front. It's a dollar sign in front, yeah, of that. But thank you so much. Who want to be our last caller, and we call it a day? If you want to be our last caller, we call it a day. And let's make moves. Trust me. If you want to buy land in Ghana, I can really help you. Get it, get a legitimate land. That's the best I can do to give back as well. So that's the best I can do. It's all together. That's the best I can do to give back as well. So trust me, there are so many opportunities. Invest. Don't be scared to spend your money. We spend so much money on things we don't need, shoes and all that stuff. Let's invest. That's all I'll say. Okay, what you saying? African, what moves are you making? You have been mean all night. I don't really understand what you mean. But yeah, yeah. Who wanna be our last caller? And who wanna be our last caller? And then we'll call it a day. If now, I'll say thanks to everyone. Stay blessed. We'll probably talk about something else next week. If you have any suggestion on what we should talk about next week, you can send it to my email right here. You can bring up something that you want us to really discuss that will create some type of, unity among us that we can actually share our differences on. Thank you so much, brother. Thank you so much. I really appreciate the love and the support being on here. But thank you so much. But if you have any topic you want us to discuss next week, that bring the unity, we can bypass our differences and work together. It's really important. We have to start trusting each other about business. At first, growing up, we have this type of mentality. Oh, it is really trustworthy to work with Europeans than our own people. We have this. There are so many brainwashed ideologies in our head that makes it crazy when you think about it. That's why, a Ghanaian doesn't want to work with a Nigerian doesn't want to work with, maybe a Togolese, simply because we feel it's better to work with a European or the Chinese, simply because maybe they'll pay you more to exploit you without you seeing it, but we need to really start fulfilling, taking the businesses we do among ourselves serious. We have to give our brothers and sisters reason to trust working with us, among ourselves. Don't be the reason why a brother would say, I'm not working with, our own people anymore. Thank you so much. Our new common language should be Python, JavaScript, or even yes. Right now I'm on JavaScript. I'm done with CSS and uh, um, HTML. I'm in the basic stages of web programming. I'm currently on JavaScript and jQuery, and I'm still, building how to make everything responsive with JavaScript and jQuery. So it is something I'm building up, but I love programming. It's it's something I really love. Trying to figure out sitting, But like I was saying, let's really try and take our partnership serious, everything serious, because at the end of the day, if you be the reason why a brother would say, I'm not working with, another brother, then, I don't know what to say, but let's take our friendships, our businesses, everything among ourselves really serious. And, we can clear that mentality that working with the different people is better than working with our own people, because on the African continent we have that mindset. Oh, I'll not work with a Nigerian. Oh, I'll not work with a Ghanaian. But we feel comfortable to work with European, you see what I'm saying, a Chinese, somebody from a different place, so we need to get that mentality out of our mind and start working with our own people. We have to have the trust and comfort. Trust me, there are so many things that I could have worked with other race, but I still say, you know what, the fact that this person is not reliable, I still find somebody from my own people and work with. So, you know, uh, um, um, we need to. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I really appreciate the love and the support, everyone here. See you next week. And if you have any topic you want us to talk about, please send me an email. If you have any question, please send me an email. Shoot me an email. That's my email on there. And let's, find something to really talk about next week. Uh, yeah, Bootstrap makes it really easy. I just really want to learn everything. But knowing the right tools is also important because it gets the job done faster. So it's really important. Thank you so much, Melanated Royalty. Thank you so much, Mary Johnson, for the support. Thank you so much, Anna. Thank you so much, Ifia. Thank you so much, everyone. Jaron, everyone that called in. Thank you so much. Let's stay blessed. And like I said, please shoot me an email. If you have any question, about whatever we talked about. If you want to send me any topic that we need to talk about, just shoot me an email. I'm your brother. I'm your son, sibling. Just shoot me an email. Let's talk. Stay blessed. See you another time. Oh, thank you so much. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Black Adults. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I was about to, Lord, when we can argue about programming, we're doing really. Oh, somebody, yeah, it's good. But app development, yeah, it's good. We're talking about, so many stuff. It's really important. We can come together with our skills. Imagine sisters on here with programming skills coming together, going to the African continent and developing a software that will help pregnant women, that will help social workers, that will help restaurant, that will help businesses, that will help the local people. This will be amazing. You see what I'm saying? Trust me, this will be amazing. We need this this type of unity coming together to get a job done. That's all what we need to do. Chinese people come together, 10, move to the African continent, invest. Chinese people come together, 10, start a business. Every group come together and start a business. We should be able to do it. You see what I'm saying? If you feel, I have the right skill and resource, knowledge, intelligence, Just say, hey, I want us to work together. What do you think about our idea? Bring 2 or 4 people together. Let's go to the African continent. Let's go to Ghana, Gambia, Senegal, Tanzania, wherever you chooses to go, and say, hey, let's go figure out an opportunity and let's build. Just go do it. We can do it. We can do it. We can do it. Thank you so much, everyone. We can do it. So, I didn't know we have a lot of programmers on here. That's crazy. I didn't know we have a lot of programmers on here, and there's so many opportunities needed in terms of the tech industry on the African continent. There are so many softwares that need to be built for social, social activities to be done easily. You see what I'm saying? There are so many opportunities out there when it comes to using technology, using our human skills and human resource and all this stuff. We need to come together and get it done. Trust me. Agriculture and all that stuff. We need to come together. Group economics, you know, we need to come together and form that business. We shouldn't let Chinese people come together and act like they have money. We can do it. We have the money. Trust me. All my businesses have been supported by African diaspora. They have the money. The money is there. The money is there. It just we need to really trust each other and say, hey, we can do this together. We can form a business together. When I had my ideologies, I was looking for the right African diaspora to work with, and I found one brother. He had supported my business. He had taken his family, travel with me, and all that stuff. And I said, you know what? Let's work together on this. Let's do this. And we talk every week on the project. We keep bringing ideas, sharing information, and finally, we hope by next year we can be done with a project, and I can show it to you guys and what we're working on. So we can come together and do it. We can come together and do it as well. So thank you so much. Thank you so much. I really appreciate all the support and the help. And also, like I said, let's create a WhatsApp. That's important as well. We can create a WhatsApp and we can join if you want to. But thank you so much. I wish we could talk for so long, but trust me, we gotta go to bed. It's late, But please email me as well if you want to. Yes, well, when we talk about Pan-Africanism, the stream started ending. Yeah, but thank you so much. Bye, everyone. Stay blessed. See you another time.